with the job video. Time chat. Also, that might be a good thing, Joe, now thinking about it. That might be a very good thing. Alright, what do we got, chat? Like always, let me know how the audio is, chat. What are we doing, Josh? So we can talk about our 100-day on Twitch. Let's see if Josh can fit fat, or we're gonna finally not agree with Josh for once.
This video is the end product of a 100-day experiment
That also
spanning
explains why he's
500
been streaming
hours of
every day.
live streaming, which generated 56.
Wait, 500 hours? Okay, right out of the gate, yeah. I know it's only 2 seconds here. How did he dream for 104 days and hit 502 hours? How? I'm confused. Hang on, chat. We're gonna test something here. We're gonna test something. If I go look at mine for 100 days. Oh man, there could be a whole thing, chat. Be warned, chat. Be warned. But if we go look at mine and I go, can I go 90 or 100 days? Well, because he did 104, right? So if I go January, what is that? That's 150. Okay, so we need to take 2 months out of this, roughly. Let's go to March. 95. Okay, we need to add, what is that? 9 days? Okay, we need to add 9 day, chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. That is true. He does. I get sleep. I got well over double in the same time. Holy shit. I streamed 1,117 hours within the same time limit. Or the same amount of days. I feel like this is honestly tripping me up because I feel like he's been streaming a lot. I feel like I constantly saw him on at 5 in the morning playing WoW. Like how is he only a 500 hour and I'm over 1,000? Because I feel like I haven't been streaming that much. Because all the sickness and everything. I don't get wrong, all my stats are down, so other than stream time, my stream time is up. But well, his is up, chat. God damn you, John! Wait a minute, how many views did he get? So he got 416,000 views. What did I get? Can we change? Can I change it to views? I'm so curious, Hill. Wait, hang on. If I just go to normal analytics, what is it? February 20th. Let me see. If I go to normal analytics, overview. Okay, go back to February 20th. Oh, I get my photo account up. That's good. Okay, can I get that set? Hey, there we go. Was it live views? It was live views, right? Unique views. Sorry, unique views. What he had. Okay, so his chat meta I know gonna be way more than mine, obviously, because he get 1,000 plus, 1,000 plus viewers. So, of course, his chat will be high. I'm not even gonna bother with that. Do we got max map views? I want to see. Yeah, that. Oh, sorry, map watch, not map view. Match watch. Oh no, that minute watch. Wait, is it minute? Oh, it is minute. My bad. So 57 million minute watch. Hey, I almost put 300K minute watch. Yay, I get that up. Let's see, time stream, which good. Let's do it. Let's do all the same. This is pure mobile curiosity. Time streamed, and then subscribers. Okay, that's the same. Yeah, chat method. Let's do chat method. Why not? Why not? For shits and giggles, chap. 22,000. That's not bad. Wow. So my chat method and my subscribers are the only thing down. Okay, maybe putting it in the same terms, I guess, is not bad. My subscriber down and my chat messages are down. Them are the only thing down. But yeah, so he got 53 million hours. I got what? No, that 500,000, right? Yeah, 500,000. My time is over 1,000. His time is 500, so we all double. My subscription is 25. His subscription is 6,000, which once again not surprising because much bigger channel on that end. Unique viewers are at 1,000. His is yeah, almost 500,000 for viewer. And then chat method 22,000, and his is almost 1 million. So okay, there was that, chat. There was in my so literally I'm beating him in time. Take that, Josh. #1 streamer of multi-hour. I'm coming for you at QC. Who is the big streamer now that stream forever? Who is that now? I don't even know. I don't even know what all the people doing like 24-hour like side channels. I don't know anymore. But yeah, maybe the sleep is maybe the answer here. I still don't feel like I've streamed as much as I have in the past with everything happening though. But I get maybe I'm underestimating in my head here. Yeah, man, the last like year and a half, 2 years have been very chaotic. And so chaotic. Because a lot of it is like life shit, and then the other side of that, like medical shit, being like, oh, we got Sam good, and now I'm gonna go downhill. It's like, can't catch a break. I'm telling you. One day, chat. One day. The other thing that will also help heal. I am still very tempted on moving the day bed over here and just making that my debt or my debt chill. So that also help. It's like man, I wish we had a truck. I really do. And I would get me a goddamn comfy recliner, like out of random dump stores or, off Facebook Marketplace. Oh my god, I'm gonna be unstoppable again if I had like a legit recliner that, I can lean back in, put my legs up. Luna can get snuggly with her anime boy pedal. I'd be unstoppable again, chat. It will happen. That is a good point. That is a very good point, Joe. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the VOD realistically probably added a good like 200-300 hours. That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. That would also explain why I got double. I do think I'm probably still at least like, 10% more than his. But that is a very good point. Touche, Joe. Touche. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that also, like, yeah, a lot of viewers, a lot of our regulars is like, yeah, all just doing life stuff. Well, we all just doing life stuff. Because to be honest, it's like, to fix a lot of this, is like, the obvious answer will be the same thing I did with PSO. It would just say, I'm out, I will stream like 3 times a week. That's what I did when I was trying to build like Fantasy Star stuff. Was we cut down streaming to literally 3 days a week, and then every other waking moment we're doing like YouTube stuff. Like that is the legit answer here. Is like, cut back on streaming a bit and like instead of putting like a lot in streaming, put way more into doing like YouTube and TikTok stuff again.
Million minutes of content watched, 416,000 unique people joined, and around 750,000 chat messages were sent. And I did this experiment because I wanted to understand the live streaming world better. You see, this
you were a
this
streamer
is the
before
most in-demand job for a majority of school children almost worldwide. In the 80s, it was rock star. In the 90s, it was footballer or movie star. Early 2000s had the rise of the reality TV star, and the 2010s saw the start of the online media saga. And now the most desired job is simply influencer. Now, I can answer questions about YouTube all day long. But when someone asks me about live streaming, specifically Twitch, I am just far less knowledgeable. And as a former teacher...
I think also the whole thing about Twitch and live streaming market, I'm going to be curious to see where Josh will go with it. But, like, the thing is about a lot of live streaming stuff is... I think the thing about live streaming, with YouTube, like YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff, is so vast that, you know, as long as, you know, you have the resolve to keep at it or keep into like certain niches and whatnot, or once again you go the whole route of just spamming the fuck out of YouTube to a point that, you know, people can't help but see you. Once again, the pirate software way of doing it, and also a lot of streamer nowadays way of doing it, like YouTube, like, yeah, when it comes to Twitch, though, or live streaming in general, like, I feel like one of them things, like, you can't just be like, oh, yeah, just post at many videos a day, or, like, bare minimum at many videos a week. You know, like, I feel like that advice doesn't really help on Twitch anymore. You know, back in the day, you know, back in the day, as you might remember, Joe, the dark ages of the time right after Justin, like a lot of that stuff was just like, oh, you know, happenstance, and then it evolved into, you know, who are you collabing with, who, you know, who or what community you involved in on the platform, and like now it's like, you know, you got the TikTok crowd, the YouTube crowd, you got the drama crowd, you know, and then you got, you know, the OnlyFans side that is like just pushing TOS as far as they can, you know, to get like articles and stuff written, which is all valid, like valid ways. And it's just like, I feel like honestly live streaming like a little less like a isolated, like, this is how you do or should do when it comes to live streaming. Because like the closest thing we got to that is like, go make TikTok video, go make YouTube short videos, and hope for the best. I like, you know, the case of the pirate software type of way. Like, that is, I feel like, the only real like consistency thing beyond, once again, you know, being in chat and doing like the socializing on that front. But, you know, that only gonna get you so far, to be honest, though. Like, don't get me wrong, you could build a pretty decent, like, little fan base by doing that. But, you know, that is a whole separate, like, energy and effort, and, you know, effort that can then be, you know, either do that or take that energy and, you know, go do other socials. But yeah, I feel like there is no, like, specific way to actually grow on Twitch beyond other platforms. Or hope you get lucky and you make it onto a Reddit post that some other streamer start a beef with you. I didn't mean to fat forward that chat. Oops. Cause let's be honest here. Like, I will admit freely, Josh won't hit ass off. Like, Josh is great. But I'm pretty sure Josh will agree with me on that. Well, like, the main reason he blew up on YouTube was because Admin Go watched his stuff. That's how I found Josh. Back before Admin Go went off the deep end. Like, yeah, like, Josh grew a lot off of Admin Go watching hit MMO videos. Which I wonder if any of that going to come into play here. But anyway.
I used to tell my students if they ever asked me something I couldn't answer, I would do my best to go away, learn it, and then report back to them so we could both
that is a
grow
good idea.
Together.
But not a bad logic,
Josh. Do that here. I decided I would finish whatever YouTube projects I was working on at the time, and then I would spend the next 100 days focused entirely on live streaming, either doing it or researching it. I would chronicle the highs and lows of that 100-day journey, and this is that chronicle. I'll cover the mental side of streaming, the relationship with the audience and with other content creators, and the benefits and downsides of being a champion of a game or a cultural ideology. I'll look at why people watch streams at all,
we
how
going
this
places
has
with that.
changed me as an individual and as a
Also, when
content
did you play
creator.
Wave Man?
If you're thinking about streaming full-time, I hope this video helps answer some questions you may have or prepare you for the challenges you may face. And if you're
So go
not
do
thinking of
YouTube
doing
and
that,
Twitch.
I hope
Or
this is a
YouTube and
whelming
TikTok.
90 minutes of background noise. So let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, both
Grab a
of them
drink
are
and put
good.
this on your second monitor or phone while you're doing other stuff. We're going to be here a while. As
Oh,
usual, a
we
massive
are.
thank you to all the supporters on Patreon
ready,
and
chat.
everyone who subscribed on Twitch over
It could
the
be
last
like a
4 months.
3-hour
All
VOD thing and upload to
6,500 of
YouTube.
you.
It's gonna
More
be a whole
information on
thing.
how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. On the 2nd of February 2026, I uploaded the video Why Does This Keep Happening to my main YouTube channel Josh Strife Hayes. My second channel, Josh Strife Plays, covers mostly single-player games with a lean toward classic RPGs. By all metrics, these are two very successful YouTube channels. All I needed to do is keep creating the content for both of them, giving the audience of each what they want, and everything would be fine. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. So you'll notice there's an almost 3 to 4 month gap on both of these channels with no content. This video is why. I see modern content creation as broadly split between 3 main disciplines. Fast-paced, short-form content served by sites like TikTok or Instagram, long-form scripted, edited content, which is usually found on YouTube, and live streaming with sites like Twitch, Kick, or Rumble. Each discipline serves different audiences.
We're bringing in Rumble
TikTok
on this,
short-form audience tend to be younger. Millennials love multi-hour-long video essays on games they'll never play. Live streams are split between both, depending on the vibe of the stream and the connection to either the game, the streamer, or the situation. Now,
Don't get me started on my 8-hour documentation essay on iCarly. Don't get me started on that.
I'm not a short-form creator. I have no interest in making that type of content. I do long-form scripted and edited videos.
Yeah, we went too much. We can't do it easily.
Full-time, I was a theatre actor, and before that, I was a drama teacher. And both these backgrounds could work well with live streaming, interaction, and improvisation. But as a creator, I'm aware that audience demands change. Trends come and go. Advertising revenue is volatile. And while I have no intention of stopping my work with either channel, no channel lasts forever. So, January 2026, New Year's resolution. I decided to dedicate 100 days, 3.5 months to full-time live streaming. I didn't tell anyone I was doing this because doing so would defeat the purpose. If people know there is an end point to an experiment, they prepare for the end point and they don't join. I needed genuine reactions. So welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes. I Twitch streamed full-time for 100 days. Was it worth it? Let's find out. Let's start with a really strong disclaimer to repeat something from the intro. This video isn't a rant or a complaint. I'm going to cover the negatives and positives of everything that I experienced. I want this to be an honest analysis of my 100 days, the good and the bad. And the one thing you'll quickly come to discover if you do live stream as a job is complaining about anything to do with streaming will be met with people telling you to stop complaining because you have a dream job. And you need to count your blessings. Yeah,
they get getting into the whole argument like streaming is a hard job, and then everyone will be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Like getting into that, not realizing, if you want to be successful in any real way, and just streaming like 1% of the overall job. But and let's be honest, a lot of the I would say for me, it's one of them things that the thing that is hard on the streaming front, beyond my own age and body issues and that whole side, I would say probably the hardest thing about it is on good nights. It's good, good nights are good, or we doing something that we can obviously cut up and put into other content. Example being what we're doing right now, that will be probably uploaded on YouTube in that day or so as a standalone video. Probably gonna be 3 hours long because me and Josh don't know when to shut up. But and then you have the days where once again, this is speaking personally from my point of view of we have days when we have all of you guys are here, you all going a mile a minute. And great, time flies, everything good for the most part. And then we have other days. Well, no offense, Joe. It's just you or, nothing but 90% locals. Which is great. It's just, also on the other side of that, at a certain point of hitting that moment, would the time be better to just end the stream and just go make YouTube videos? And, that would probably be the part of the streaming side that, more on the difficult side of figuring out, or just dealing with that feeling of, am I just wasting my time when I could be, doing something else, to grow, to trap more people, so on and so on and so on. And then on the other side of that is on days of like, you know, email meetings, like making stuff, like you know, doing overlay emails, like hell, tap paperwork and the whole thing. Yeah, well, you know, keeping track book, keeping track of like you know, all the stuff that go into like the back end of all this, and then being like, or once again, also you could say life. Well, life also play into that. Of then being like, okay, that is that much as I can do right now. We need to do the streaming side, and then just like being drained on that, or having the two match up where like, you know, you have the days where like you just spend 9 hours doing goddamn busy work, and then you know, going on stream and like, fuck, no one will heal, and then that like in the back of the head like, do I need your energy to go make YouTube videos? Or the whole thing of like, oh, I went so, in my case, like went so much, and then it like by the time it's done, it just like I just don't want to talk. You know, I didn't want to be a mute for a few hours and then at bedtime. You know, type of deal. Like that is probably, I would say, elite from my point of view on the streaming side. Is probably what makes streaming hard on the is mainly because the thing is, you know, not saying like you're going doing like a 9 to 5 job and not hard by any means, you know. You know, as someone who, you know, you to do farm work, you know, for 10 plus hours a day. Oh, I get it. And then not counting all the other little jobs here and there. But yeah, like elite with that is like, you know, because let's be real, like most of us don't actually have time anymore, any 9 to 5, because, you know, most of us, you know, have like 3 jobs and maybe get 3 hours of sleep if we lucky type of situation. But if we remove the economy problem, you know, living under fascism, and look at any from like back in the day, or, you know, old bad case scenario days, like, you know, that shut off point. Well, you know, like not even just doing content, like just in general, like working for yourself is that whole thing of like, you know, the whole day in your job, you know, which also can bleed into a lot of that after a while at certain points of just being like, you know, this is a problem I think some of you might have seen people talk about. The whole idea of like, oh, I'm going to, you know, just stop doing shit. I'm gonna take like 3 or 4 hours or the rest of the night or whatever, and I'm gonna go watch a movie, or, you know, play a game off stream, or, you know, do whatever hobby or thing. And literally the whole time it's just like, I got bill to pay. I could be making a video right now, you know, also eating away at you. And like, I feel like that it will, like the streaming side or content creation as a whole start getting into you know, being harder or equally as hard as a normal like 9 to 5. And then that not even counting getting into the shit of like the demographic out there, mainly like the kick people, who is, you know, doing a bad job of trying to relive Britney Phil Blake down shaving her head to get, or photos on the front of TMZ, you know, that them kind of streamer, which is, I imagine that bring a whole other side of this that, you know, is mentally just fucked, you know? I mean, not even counting like that stuff, it, you know, for the people that do that kind of stuff.
But I think it's important to remember that everyone, no matter who they are, will have down days, and
Yeah.
even dream jobs can have nightmare moments.
Mhm.
And I think we have a responsibility
Not
to the
truly
next
happy all the
generation
time.
of content creators, influencers, streamers, or
I
video
get it.
makers to say, look, the job is fantastic and has some incredible upsides, but
Also, like the bet upsides as well. Like to be honest, the bet upside is like, for me, like the days that it like feel the most productive. You know, the stream go good. You know, we hitting bare minimum for survival. Like all the shit I was trying to do is like I got done, and like Sam got her head pat. You know, you kind of walk out on the other side being like, yeah, today was a good day. which is, falling in between a lot of the time. But, them days do exist. And then you have all the other days.
You are going to face downsides, and it's important that you are prepared for those.
If we're comparing the Twitch experiment to YouTube, then we need to know how I do YouTube. I'll sit in my room and play a video game, recording all of the footage of that and taking voice notes as I go. Then I'll turn those voice notes into a script, record the voiceover of the script, then sit and edit all of the footage I've got to match up with the script. As anyone,
to be honest, on my end, I never been one for scripting. That also got more to do with dyslexia and not being able to properly write, which is 100% the reason why I never do the scripting stuff. I would do like tagline type stuff of being like, pinpoint like, multiplayer or like if I'm making a video like Sam reviewing game, be like, talk about what bad in multiplayer or bring up UI stuff, whatever. I would do that. I would do like little notes like that, but never like a full-on script. Like I said, that mainly could dyslexia stuff. And like, I'm telling you, chat, if I didn't have dyslexia and also if my school wasn't so shit and kind of let me out in the wind till I was like, 14 before like being like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should teach you how to weed and write, maybe. And then I graduated a year later. That shit didn't happen. Maybe it'd be in a better spot right now, but I'm telling you, chat, if I could, I would be a minute. If I ever got to a point of, like, for the most part, overcoming or elite being able to deal with dyslexia on, like, a normal scale, or not normal scale, but, like, a better scale, I'd be unstoppable, chat. I'd be writing fucking novels right now. But yeah, like, most of my video outside of that is like very much most of my time is made up of like doing the research, if I'm talking about news or something, like doing the research stuff, and then most of it, and then just like spitballing like the whole video, and then hoping I don't forget anything, and then edit, and then we'll admit something, and then I had to go back and reshoot something. And then when it comes to like game review stuff, most of my game review stuff, like anywhere I was at Edge Play, the way I handle like most of my game reviews outside quick notes of being like talk about X, Y, and Z, was I would beat the game, and then while the credits are rolling, I'm gathering my thoughts, and then once the credit is done, I instantly just go spit out of my mouth whatever my opinion was at that point, which was easier to do back when games were like 6 to 8 hours, and I could beat them in one day, and just go straight into a video. It was good times. Well, as good as they can be, I guess, of that time. But yeah, that had like pretty much all my videos all done. Most of the time, my videos is waking up, figuring out if I have the time, figure out like what is happening, and then be like, okay, this is happening. Research what is happening, and then just get everything up in tabs and try to go. Or do research if I'm doing like a how-to video outside of stuff that just obvious stuff. But like when I was doing PSO tutorial, would be like I would wake up, okay, I would go to Reddit, I would go to the forum, and start looking for like, okay, what are people talking about on social media? What are people acting about? And then being like, oh, the question been asked like 4 times in the last 24 hours. I'm gonna do that, or go look at people in my niche, in the case of PSO, my niche, and be like, okay, who are getting the views on what? And then be like, oh, Quopy or Anamana getting views on this type of video. And then it'd be like, okay, I will watch them videos, and then I will research into it, get my own B-roll, and then do my own video, to ride that wave, which, it's just doing trend stuff, but obviously in a much smaller scale in the case of PSO. But yeah, most of my videos are how it's done. Because of like, I have a lot of long form like ideals. It just, a lot of my ideal be like, it'd be like a week plot to do, and so much B-roll. And like I said, like between light, medical, Sam, streaming, everything else, it just one day hopefully I can do it.
Anyone who's made a long-form video knows it's a remarkably time-consuming experience. Then I render the video, watch it, fix mistakes, render again, make a thumbnail, upload, done, move on to the next one. But
Yep.
the human contact during this process is basically zero. And while alone time is important for all of us, I started to feel this widening chasm between me and you, who I was actually making videos for.
Which is the
This
main
brings
reason
up
why
an
I
irony.
constantly
I could
always
make content
look and see
faster
what
if I had
community is
less
doing.
contact with the people the content was actually made for. YouTube output actually benefits from a distance from creator to audience. But live streaming is the opposite. You're actively trying to include as many people as possible in
Yeah, how many times I have went on rant about things and you guys, I don't give a fuck about this. Why I'm a real ranting about whatever stats or
the
whatever.
process. You need to be watched while working, so that performer-audience connection isn't just encouraged, it's mandatory. It
And
actually
also-
is the thing many people...
Also, I will add to that, if you're doing YouTube videos as well, without you planning out chunks, also Night Cat, Josh. If you also planning out, or if you don't plan out chunks and you're doing like gameplay stuff or game review stuff, the thing I have noticed over the years of like after leaving after playing pretty much every game I do now is, with a few little exceptions here and there, but the majority, I would say like 95% of the games I played all the way on stream because time. Like the review process, because you know I did reviews at After Play, I did a whole bunch of other stuff, but that was the main thing I did other than web design stuff. Was I, you know, back then it felt like, oh, I can like, you know, clap out reviews so much faster than now if I did it now, just because, you know, we have Final Fantasy VII moments. Well, I thought Final Fantasy do one battle and then we just went for 9 hours and I do one more battle and I go to bed. So, you know, I kind of halt that process just a tiny bit. Right, that's the downside of trying to do that kind of content, or trying to treat streaming as like B-roll appeal to, you know, A-roll, I guess. But, you know, if you plan around in other ways, like doing reaction videos, they're like so much more easier on that front.
People are watching for. With YouTube, the end content matters more than the process. With live streaming, the process is the content that matters. YouTube is film and TV. Twitch is live theater. So in my mind, this 100-day experiment would not only gather data based on viewers, subscribers, watch times, sponsorship opportunities, and all that jazz, but it would also allow me to reconnect with you. And one of the earliest things I learned was the YouTube audience and the Twitch audience are very different. But let's start with two basic questions. Why do people watch YouTube, and why do they watch Twitch? And in asking these, I realized the majority of people don't actually watch either of them. They listen to them while doing other things.
Yep.
There's an old saying when it comes to creating visual performance.
I do so much art while listening to podcasts and
I've
other
used
YouTube
this
videos.
mantra to critique games, films, and TV shows because I agree with it. If you want a player or viewer to fear a character, don't tell them how scary they are. Show them doing something terrifying. Let the viewer understand the reality of your universe or game or story through witnessing an action in it and letting them have a real reaction to it, not just telling them what their reaction should be. However, showing and not telling requires the audience to actually pay attention when they are shown.
They don't.
So the new writing mantra seems to be show, tell, show again.
Oh god, yeah, this is the Netflix shit of just having a what was it? I doubt he's gonna go into that, but what was the statistic that Netflix wasn't it like every 20 minutes rehash the story for the people that spend the last 20 minutes on the phone? Like, it's insane. And it's a real thing, and just like, fuck, man. Because, you know, it is what it is on
tell
that.
Again, flashback to remind, have an episode recap at the start and at the end, then bring in a brand new character to recap the entire plot just for those who weren't listening. If you've ever wondered why shows like Stranger Things or later seasons of Reacher or The Boys seem so focused on constantly reminding the audience what's going on, as if they weren't even watching, it's because most of the audience weren't even watching.
Yeah.
But how does this apply to streaming?
Because Twitch isn't something solely focused on by most viewers, it ends up being used as more of a digital body doubling service, virtual parallel play.
Yeah,
if
Sam
you
was
are
talking about
playing
this
a game,
earlier.
there's a nice sense of community to watch a stream of someone playing the same game. Yeah. It'll make you laugh if they make the same mistakes that you do, and maybe you can share a tip or a trick you've discovered while playing. And you value the live connection without feeling constrained to actually focus on it. Very few people are watching.
Also, I think the other thing to be added here, maybe this is part of the body doubling bit, but the other thing to add to this is also by having like, you know, like playing WoW and then we play WoW or whatever, is also that whole sense. I'm pretty sure some of you, at least some of you who are old, will, by old I mean mainly like 360 old, I guess I should say. I remembering like how you would get into, back when we all had friends, you know, would get into like party chat, and all of you playing different games and you just bullshitting, and you're all just doing your own thing. That kind of what that is here, of being like, oh, they playing that game, I'm gonna play that game. And it become more like, not about the content of the game, but more about like getting that feeling that like, oh, I'm in like a party chat with someone. You know, to hit that kind of it that, you know, we had back during like the 360 era. Like 100%. Or I wouldn't go with that far and say you need doing like all the random, you know, program like TeamSpeak and whatnot as well.
Watching Twitch while doing nothing else. Twitch is background ambience. I'm willing to bet most of you aren't watching this video actively so much as listening to it while you
I'm
do
making a
whatever
YouTube
else
video
you're doing, or it's playing in the background. Sometimes content isn't there to be the only thing someone focuses on. It's there to fill in the gaps in their attention or entertainment desires not served by whatever else they're doing. And as a streamer, you need to accept that part of your appeal to a large part of the audience is to be entertaining enough to have on in the background, but not so entertaining that they need to focus on you or miss vital information later.
So when these 100 days were drawing to a close, I spoke about this experiment on stream, and that got clipped and added to the Josh Strife Hayes channel. And of all the comments, I saw one sentiment repeated. People were happy that I was returning to edited videos because they could not understand the appeal of a Twitch stream. So I decided to analyze that. Why do people watch live streams? After watching hundreds of streams while streaming myself, I think I found 6 key pillars of successful streaming. Now, most viewers will value aspects of all 6, and all streamers are doing multiple of these to a different degree, but broadly speaking, I think people watch streams for these 6 reasons, and they all have upsides and downsides based on the community that they can create.
1. High skill gameplay. If you're a world-class player, speedrunner, guide writer, theory crafter, anyone who's great at the game, people will watch you to see you be great. These viewers are here for the mechanical gameplay. You don't need to explain.
We all know people who walk in the play industry don't have skills.
They just want to see it being done well. These viewers will watch, for example, tournament-level fighting games in a totally different way to me. I don't know why certain combos are impressive, I just know that they are impressive. Your viewers, however, will know exactly why they're impressive.
These like me watching Evo every year.
In fact, audience interaction can be at a minimum because the gameplay is the point. The strength of being this streamer is you're only competing for viewers with other people playing at your level, which will be a very small number of people. The downside is you're also limiting your appeal to players who have the technical knowledge to be entertained by high-level gameplay alone, which is a very small percentage of a game's player base.
I do think, honestly, I will admit this freely, maybe once again, you know, small circles and all that. I still think the pulpit personally in the FGC, as an example, it's still like Maximilian. I think Maximilian can like pull off the high level stuff, or you know, or I get high, whatever the setting, like instead of being like equal, like you know, champion, but like underneath, like Max, I think do a really good job of that. Of being like, you know, being high level in a lot of stuff and then not so much in other stuff, but, you know, also still being able to be a show that can, or a stream that, you know, can be watched, you know, any of you don't know what the fuck happening. Like, I think you're a good example of that.
Plus, when someone new comes along and is better than you, that they will eventually do, the audience will go to them, because they were there for the skill. There's less loyalty to the individual streamer. 2. Game agnostic entertainment or sex appeal. Doesn't matter what the streamer is playing, you're not there for the game, you're watching them because they're funny or sexy. Saying they're entertaining is too broad. This streaming pillar is narrowed in my mind to apolitical vibes, good presenting skills, good chat interaction, and good looks. Finding success as this type of streamer is a bit harder in the early stages because you're not standing out for any of your gameplay skill, and if you do choose to stick with one game, you're limiting your audience reach, so you tend to move from game to game, but the constant movement means you never fully settle in a community. The strength of this as a streamer, however, is you are the product and the audience is there for you. The downside of this is the risk of dangerous parasocial attachments forming quicker because you're building that connection on purpose to a degree. And then
I would go a step farther on that and also be like, well, maybe this is, I don't know, Josh had put it, so this might be a whole separate discussion, or maybe same discussion, depending. Whenever I see him here, maybe he can verify this. But I would say the other side of this, that you gotta also count in is like if you are the reason or the brand or the person, depending on where you are on your like being, because let's be honest, all streaming is like it, well, some people I should say, streaming is you plus like ramped up to 11, at least for good days anyway, mentally and physically. Like you ramped up a bit. Like, for example, the shit you guys see right now, like example here for me. Like the shit you see right now, usually how it works for me is you guys catching me, like especially when we all jumping all over the place ranting, when my ADHD is flying, is like is ramped up a little bit, and also my stupidity kind of can go up and down depending on how bad my eyesight is in any given day, or bad luck depending. But like at the same time, like if a random person, like I feel like a little bit different, like if one of you guys walked on and be like, oh, watch your stream, it'd be like, oh, okay, kick in a little bit more. But for like the have with folks, it like, for example, I can give for this. It's like how me and Sam do a little sewing club at the library every week. We've been going to that pretty much for a little over a year. And the lady who puts it on at the library, over that time, I think I have said maybe 10 sentences to her over the whole year. Like, I would do a little comment, a little thing, but not like full-on discussions or anything. And a lot of that got to do with, maybe a little tism, whatnot, but also on the tism front being more like my whole thing of like with like random people. It not in like a judging way, so not in like a bad judging way, but more in like the way of just like I'm kind of taking notes of everybody to figure out like the vibes overall, which could take months or years depending, before I go off the well and become this, So it like, it just like bypassing that middle step, and let's be honest, the main reason for that, like I'm not on call with you guys, I don't see you guys. So it's like easier to just go from bait to 10, 11. Which, to be honest, like this is one of them situations again, like you guys probably have seen it, like when Coon is around and we talking like on Discord and whatnot. You would know that I'm up pull back. Because like at that point that triggering the whole like I gotta think. I can't it like emotionally, rambling, it thought feeling a little rude, So I'm over here gathering data. And then eventually we'll become that. And then again, I've talked to Coon for literally at this point over a decade. And it's still like a little bit of like that. Which, that could be tismness. But yeah, I think that the other thing about like the streamer is like you have that. So when you end at camp, cause not like most streamers are not extroverted. We all pretend to be extroverted on TV, but most of us are not. And I think the problem that comes from that is when we ramp to 11, or you ramping up a little bit, might it be for a character, but whenever like your normal self start bleeding in a pat of being like ramped up, you then also run into the issues of like not only the parasocial stuff that Josh is talking about right now, but also stuff along the lines of like offending, I guess is the way to put it. because like I imagine like there were probably dozens upon dozens of people over the years that like you know, with me being over here like with the toilet paper and a lighter, you know, will easily be like, oh, can't watch this stream anymore, you know, like. And I think that's the thing of realizing now of like also if you in that camp, you have like a higher chance of like that stuff kind of happening, which you know, depending on your opinion, might be good or bad. Because you know, if you don't want bigots in your stream, you know, being anti-bigot is a good way to get rid of the bigots, you know. But then you also run into you know other sides of that of like you know what you know happened with what was it, Imawu, I think it was, with the whole ICE situation and what that happened. And like you have a situation like that as well when you are dick kind of streamer. Which like I said, like for me, you know, if you guys not gonna join me with a pitchfork, you know, or at least be making sandwiches for the underground railroad, you know. Like bye, you know? But that also something to keep an eye on as well, especially if you actually start growing at that kind of streamer. And especially if, you know, like for example, for me, like, you know, we never really talked about politics stuff. And then we like dabble a little bit, like here and there on 2016 to 2020. And now with all the shit happening, it's just like, no, we're gonna talk about it. You know, type of deal. Because of the whole thing, you know, politics come for us all. You know, eventually. And, you know, that also, you know, bring up a lot of divide for obvious reasons. But I think that another side of like being in Nick camp as a streamer, like easily can be parasocial, or easily like you could send out one random tweet or one random method and 90% of your audience is just gone. And you know, some people like kind of want the audience to be there for whatever reason. Might it be money, might it be plays, might it be whatever. And you know, that become very volatile very, very quickly. You know, going horribly wrong. You know, if you did hyper content creator. That like the downside right along with the parasocialness.
And if there's ever a day you don't look good or feel funny, you need to force the performance because the audience are also aware of small changes in your appearance or your style. If you are the content, discussion about the content becomes discussion of you. And if you're not mentally able to deal with that, it becomes overwhelming. We'll look into this later in the mental health aspect of streaming. 3. You're independently famous outside of Twitch. Now this is a really interesting one. People will tune in to watch famous people stream just because they're famous. A politician playing Fortnite, a rapper playing old school RuneScape, Jack Black playing whatever he feels like. If someone said The Rock was doing a 30-minute Fall Guys stream, you can guarantee people would watch it. These streams are interesting to me because the celebrity is bringing their outside fan base onto Twitch, but they don't need to understand the entertainment medium of streaming.
Yeah, they always
With live streaming, you need to be interacting with the audience constantly while playing a game, and that's not something a lot of these big famous people do all that often. In fact, the most successful non-streamer focused performers I've seen are usually the ones with live stage improv backgrounds. A fun personal example was when John Robertson of the Dark Room fame and I played Borderlands 4 together and had a great time.
I think a lot of that for like stand-up and improv is like the stand-up thing is like you already have the ability to bullshit and also the ability to like bullshit around viewers. Is like the main reason why, like, you know, some comedians will start like doing stuff with the crowd because of like, you know, like the little things. Or example that most of you probably know is the we thing of like You Are Beautiful from E3 years ago for Cyberpunk. Like having that awareness help. And then improv, at least for me, is like the improv bit is kind of well I set. Because, you know, you might think I'm bad at it. I personally think I'm pretty okay at it. Like doing improv off of chat, along you guys not saying some big word that I've never seen before, but that's a distant discussion. Goddamn dyslexia. But yeah, like I kind of feel like for me personally, if I fall in like two camps of like the most comfortable I feel on stream is when we do an education stuff, talking about something that either I know a lot about or I'm passionate about, or you guys are, just saying random shit, and I can easily, like, improv off of it. Like, so when you're dealing with a crowd, it's like, that is absolutely having, like, that background pays off so much of being able to do that.
We're live, baby. Okay. And also, like, what do you call your fans there, Josh?
What do I call my fans? Parasocial, normally.
Oh, that's fucking tickled me.
The strength of this pillar is, if you're famous, people will watch you do anything. And I benefit from that too, to an extent, because a lot of my Twitch audience find me from YouTube. And while Twitch and YouTube seem like two sides of the same coin, it's still an outside audience. The downside of these streams is it can feel like a gimmick. If you know the celebrity isn't going to stream again, or even care about the culture of streaming, there's a lot of soulless energy that screams marketing stunt. 4. Giveaways and drops. People will watch your stream if you promise to give them things. Raffles, lotteries,
that was a lot
free Robux,
we did back at
skins,
Extra Play.
Steam gift cards,
So
VIP
much
status,
now.
whatever it is. Doesn't even matter if it's against the live streaming platform's terms of service. Hell, it could probably be against the law of whatever country you're streaming in. People will watch you if they benefit. Now, some games do Twitch drops. If you're watching a stream, you get a reward in the game.
Giveaway do
so because that's not really there for the streamer, that's just there for the game. They're less egregious, but it's still an audience acquisition method through giving things away. The benefit of doing this as a streamer is it works and it's really easy. People love seeing the word giveaway in the title, and they will wait for ages, especially if you're promising things people actually want. The downside, bots designed to search for.
Also, real quick before we talk about pot, there was like the thing we did at Extra Play, like when we did our Extra live streams, for the charity event, was like, we had sponsors, and they would, none of the sponsors donated. They just give us a shit ton of like game keys and stuff, and what they give for quote unquote, sponsoring the event. And then they got the little logo down in the corner. But like a lot of that was like the reason back when we were doing that stuff, we was in that camp of like, oh, if we weigh $50, we give out a key. We had it tied to like charity incentives. Because then, more people will hang around, especially if it's like random. And usually you have so many keys, we usually just did like whoever pushed it over got a key guaranteed, and everyone else was like random. And then, usually after that, most people left, for obvious reasons. But,
the keyword like giveaway, drop, or free stuff. This is only sustainable as a business model if you keep constantly doing it. Pillar number 5.
Also, the side of that is like, it's like the drop thing is like you moving, from one game to the next game, hoping the community will get you to the top of the leaderboard. Which you kind of already need a viewership to get there to begin with, because, when drops happen, usually.
This is a bit more depressing.
Oh, you just wait, Joe. You just wait. We still got time. But yeah, the problem with like drop things is like most game when they get drops, get an influx of streamers as well. So, drops only gonna get you so far depending on what your community number is. Because let's be honest, if I'm playing Dune Awakening with drops on, and then Cold Carnage are playing Dune Awakening with drops on, the majority of the viewership, any people that don't know who Cole is, gonna go to Cole over me. It's just like that facts, So you kind of, the thing about like giveaways and drop is like, you kind of need that underlayer to like push you up a bit, so you become much more noticeable for your giveaways. But that's the only downside when it comes to that. Like, it's not a put on drops and I'm number one. That just doesn't happen.
Confirmation bias and belonging. This is probably the most divisive streaming angle. Work out what your audience want to hear and then say it. Reinforce their political stances. Agree with their social ideology. Confirm whatever bias they already hold. When you hear about a political drama take or a social commentary bit from a streamer that's hit the mainstream news, it's usually because of this pillar of streaming. Now, the benefit to this style of streaming is it builds intense viewer loyalty.
Yeah, because this is the whole reason like why Amigo and Hassan is so big. It's the same ideal from two different spectrum. You got your like, lefty. I don't know what Hassan technically count out other than lefty. I don't know if he in like communism, socialism. I don't know what he said on that fully. But we all know like he much more on like the left side, so you get that audience. And Admin Go is, went down the bigot rabbit hole, and also speaking of an example of what Josh talking about here of reinforcing opinion, like you can literally see it happen real time for like Admin Go, where you will say something, and then depending on what the chat say, it will change what his net line is. As far like how far onto the stream he gonna go. And like it wasn't something that like fascinating to watch, of just seeing like that like the Pelosi of Admin Go being the Pelosi side of just like trying to hit bet that they relevant by just grabbing hold of whatever the vibe is in Twitch at the moment, or his chat in the moment. Which is the reason you see like, so drastic of a change. Instead of having his own like beliefs and, like reinforcing it in the community, like, what Hassan does. Well, Admin Go is just more like, tell me what to think. As long as we, being a bigot, cool, type of situation. So, like, two sides of the same coin on that end.
Because you become their guy. You are a champion of the social, political, or ideological cause the viewer cares deeply about. And they'll support you because you outwardly support them. You are willing to ostracize large sections of viewership because that ostracization is the signal to your loyal supporters that you are their champion.
Yep.
The downside of this type of streaming is constant reinforcement of beliefs can lead to a downward spiral where you slowly begin to appeal to a more extreme element of society. It locks
also known as what happened with Destiny, and what happening with like 8-3 as well. Also, Josh, you're probably gonna get sued, and also thank you. Now I'm gonna get sued. Thank Josh.
You into a persona and makes changing your mind or airing any dissenting positions from the accepted groupthink dangerous, because your audience is there because they agree with you, and if they stop agreeing with you, they stop watching. And the sixth and final pillar is also the most boring. You have early access or exclusive access to a game, and the audience are watching you to do research on the game before buying it. They want to see the gameplay, the graphics, hear your thoughts critically.
To be honest, this is kind of, I would say it's not exactly a Twitch thing for me. Because, we don't get a lot of early asset stuff. And also, we don't have, like, the finances to do, like, 3 days early purchases type of deal. Because I think that one bleed into YouTube as well. But the part that I would say, like, I have dabbled into this have been with, like, MMO stuff. Very much like whenever like betas or whatnot happen, or the few times I have early access like we did with Wayfinder. My main thing is like I always try if I can. Like hell, what was that? I think we made like 50 some odd video from the Diablo beta. I made I think it was like 12 or 13 Wayfinder video that we're gonna drop day one of release. Like PSO, we were doing PSO video, what was that, like, God, what was that, like 3-4 months every day before any launch by just, like, doing Japanese stuff. Which I still think is why I got banned off the JP servers. But, like, to be honest, like, this side of the content, also very much helpful if you're doing, like, guide content or how-to content as well.
On how it plays and decide if it's worth their time. This is why so many streamers jump on new games or early access. The benefits of this are you are joining a gold rush of streamers every time a new game comes out to gather up new viewers who may not discover you any other way. And if
also the dream here, you get access to a game like that having won over the community on a larger scale, and it's still like the very niche, like, put an example of that, like, Nope. If you didn't see this, I'm going to use you as an example. At least from the outside looking in, anyway. And like what happened with Nope. Like Nope was, was a PSO content creator. You were like the rest of us, 20, 30 people given at any given time, 3,000 views, on YouTube. He was like the rest of us. And then like NFT or ETN, whatever the gotcha GTA game, when that came out, he hopped onto that because he had early access, and now he's sitting at like 300, like 150 to 300 viewers constantly. We will see what happens if he stop playing that game, but for the time being, that's like a perfect example of finding a game that have a large like interest in it, but an interest in a way that like the mainstream, 20, 30, 10K Andes haven't even realized about yet, and won't pop back into either to get a sponsor or like a day or two later. Like, that is like the sweet spot if you're going to do it this way.
If the game does end up becoming successful, if you're there as an early adopter, you can rise to fame along with it. We've seen lots of streamers main one game when it's not popular, the game blows up, and then that shoots the streamer into superstardom. Like
PoE and Warframe are the perfect example of that.
If the game isn't successful, any viewers gained from it may leave unless they enjoy the stream for other reasons. And any time spent trying to build a community in a game which ultimately dies is time that you could have spent building up a community in another more established game.
So, good gameplay, funny chat and sex appeal,
welcome to us.
fan base, giveaways and drops, confirmation bias and validation,
PSO Way
and
Final and Diablo and
pillars of streaming, in my humble opinion. Now, the interesting thing is all of these pillars contribute to the ongoing community of the streamer, and the focus of each pillar affects the community that streamer will end up with. Now, I think the pillar with the broadest general appeal is confirmation bias and validation.
Oh yeah, the reason the biggest thing on Twitch.
Ideological or political territory, and there are simply more people in the world who want to have their ideological beliefs confirmed repeatedly at them by a famous person than there are people who care deeply about being really good at a video game.
Yep.
But one thing I have learned about live streaming is that while this is all very popular in a bubble, it is still nowhere near mainstream.
Viewers who are more enfranchised in the online content world often see content platforms as equal. If your personal rotation of digital media is YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Insta, TikTok, or Twitter, you're going to assume most other people interact with all of the others. And to this end, Twitch and YouTube are often discussed by people who use them as two sides of the same coin, equal but different. And this is
people that won't leave Twitch, there are people that won't leave
Kick,
there are people that won't use
daily viewers absolutely dominate Twitch. YouTube is mainstream. Twitch, while still the most popular live streaming app, is not mainstream in the same way. Even at gaming conventions or events where people will know about gaming culture and they will know about Twitch, they will still not always use it, while almost everyone will have watched a YouTube video. Think of it like this. The vast
your inventory, it's full!
I got a lot of thoughts in my head filling my brain right now, Joe. My inventory is completely full. But yeah, I think the other thing to bring up here is he doesn't know about Kick. Oh, he knows. I think he just don't care. We will see if he bring that up. But that is to my point I'm going to state. And the other side of that is YouTube. Is like the best way to describe it is like when it comes to like social media, I feel like the three whenever, but this has also been my feeling with CPA as well. And there are three camps. If you're on YouTube, people know what YouTube is. If you're on OnlyFans, they will at least think they know what you do on OnlyFans, and you might not be doing that kind of content. Same thing goes for like Pornhub. Go watch Jesse Cox hentai reviews. I think that's still on Pornhub, right? I can't check it. I don't like Pornhub is blocked in Arkansas. I can't check it. Either way, that's still available. Go watch it. That will. Good job, Jesse Cox. No, you don't see Jesse Cox did. That is for Cyberpunk. Don't worry. But nonetheless, it's like you look at them platform and like, oh, okay, yeah. Most people understand roughly what that is. But you start getting into like Twitch, Kick, TikTok. You look at Kick and like, oh, that will all, the problem childs go, the people that not going to make it to 21 or end up in prison. That Kick. TikTok, it will the kids are just doing dancing and eating Tide Pods, stereotype. Twitch is like in that camp, but like Twitch is very much starting to get that like image of like, oh, that is where the political people are in an insult, you know, the opposite of whatever side you on. You know, being like, this is well, you know, Hassan lives, something, something, hate Hassan, something, something, always thinking about a dick Hassan. You know, them people. You know, you get that stereotype going. Well, like, yeah, YouTube is just like, no, it just is. Like, you could argue Twitter kind of do it well, as far like, you know, the image of, you know, Twitter is just all bots. But yeah, like 100%, like Twitter, or not Twitter, Twitch have not broken into the mainstream at all in that way, beyond having that perception of what it is, elite by the standard at any given moment. But yeah, YouTube have a good platform, but a good live streaming. Everybody complain about. Oh yeah, like I would complain to I'm blue in the face about YouTube streaming. We still do it every day on two different accounts. You know, a Let Play channel and then my main channel. But yeah, like 100%. Like if we're looking at it from like, I would say from both sides, from the streamer point of view and from the viewer point of view, it's like Twitch is better in almost every way except for video codec. Like video codec, the main thing YouTube obviously got with a higher bitrate and whatnot. But yeah, it's like, because the thing about YouTube, like, to be honest, like YouTube live streams, you know how we're talking about earlier about how, when it comes to like content on like Twitch, or like content that transfer from Twitch to other platforms, is, you know, you doing your stream in a way that is meant to be like chopped up and can easily put into other, you know, other camps, you know, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. That also play into like the YouTube streams. Well, like, which I'm curious Josh gonna get into that. I don't think he will because he's talking about Twitch. But like the YouTube thing is like, if you can like make a 2 to 3 hour live stream, that is much more like rehearsed out to be much more like a show, quote unquote. Like you can do so much better in like VOD like viewership. Well, Twitch, you know, VODs are just like Elite the one on Twitch is just gone. You know, once we done that it, nobody gonna go back and watch it. And for the people that do, you know, within like a week, Twitch will literally delete it, so you can't do it anyway. So they're not that trained. The consumer base haven't been trained to watch VODs on YouTube or on Twitch. I mean, because of that. Well, how YouTube structure it as a video once it's over, it much more incentivized being, you know, let's sit here and just talk for 11 hours and much more like structural. And for the people who do like the more structural content, not only for chopping up reason for other platform, but also from a YouTube point of view, also the VOD do so much better because of how YouTube function with live streams. But if you're not doing that, then, you know, you put an example that I can give offhand. Like, you go look at Maximilian, because, you know, he's one of the bigger streamers I do watch. You know, he began, you know, 5 to 20K viewership, depending on what he doing, of course. You look on Twitch, you know, he's sitting in the 5-ish range. And then you go look at YouTube, and he, like, maybe 150, maybe 200. Because, like, you know, his content not designed in that way. So most of his viewership is the people who don't want to deal with ads or want a better viewing version, but them are the same people that not really chatting, per se. But yeah, that's the thing about YouTube streaming. It just, it have pluses, but the way you have to treat it, it different than what most people want to treat streaming as. You know, to actually take full advantage of it. Yeah, but I think Kick won't make it. I think I'm when it comes to Kick, I have the same opinion about Kick as I do about Twitch. I think it's gonna be fine as long as an parent company is willing to keep paying for it. Kick it with with Stake and Amazon with Twitch. I don't think there's going to be a Microsoft Bean Mixel situation happening. Not in the same way as that went down, all the way like Facebook live streaming went down. I think it's gonna be fine once again as long as they have the investment. How long will that last? We will see, but I think they're good for the time being. Like I don't think Kick is shutting down the model. Well, Twitch could see it shutting down the model, but I like if I had to bet, like I wouldn't doubt Kick living longer than Twitch, to be totally honest. Like I would not doubt that. If the time comes, I think Kick might be the last man standing on that fight. Not because it's good or anything, it's just because, like, well, because like the big difference now is, Kick is a funnel to the gambling side, what Stake is. Like, Kick is treated as a funnel to get you to buy play slots and gambling stuff. Well, why I think Twitch would die sooner than Kick is because Amazon always got what they wanted from Twitch, which was the server structure and the streaming infrastructure and, the tech behind it. They have it. That, like, Twitch is why Amazon Prime Videos is. The reason Kick is it. The reason why Fortune 500, like, random website marketing streaming, platforms is it, Like, Amazon got it. Amazon good, At that point, sometimes I think they forget Twitch exists every once in a while. Well, Stake on the other hand is like they don't have Kick as being like a technology sort because they just renting that from Amazon. That is the same thing that Twitch use because they literally using the same tech. So for them, it's not about the technology. It's about the funnel of getting people into gambling. And, that is, way more useful than, a platform that already got, chunked up and, gut and moved to other places. So that's the main reason why I think Kick could outlive Twitch. Once again, depending on a lot of nothing crazy happening and gambling don't get banned everywhere and, they can no longer legally do it. If like, a credit card provider will come down on Kick and be like, nah, people can't buy, currency, using our platforms anymore. And also, we no longer going to allow people to buy, like, cryptocurrency with a credit card. And, like, when that shit happened, that is when you're going to see Kick go away. But, obviously, that's not going to happen anytime soon, Because, gambling is just, way too much money though, just like crypto for a lot of investors. So, and countries as well. Yeah, I do agree. It's like I feel about Kick in the same way as I do about OnlyFans, in the way of it being growing pains. Of like, they both have like an image, which is not wrong. The image is not wrong. OnlyFans got a lot of porn, Kick got a lot of people that you question how they are alive or not in prison. The stereotype is not wrong, but I do feel like eventually, just like OnlyFans, just like Kick, eventually both of them platforms will grow to a point of being more than just that. The question going to be is, what will that culture look like when that time starts happening? The perfect example of it, when Twitch moved away from gaming to more IRL, just chatting, stuff. Like, how is that culture going to change for both of them platforms when that time fully comes? But we will see. Like, I think eventually Kick might become better, might be on par. We'll eventually get rid of that stereotype. At the end of the day, competition is good, so I would take Kick, with it, with its badness tied to it. If it make Twitch a inch better, so be it. Also, never thought gambling, chat. Don't do it, chat. But yeah, I do agree. I think Kick is a lot of growing pain stuff right now. Because, Kick was built off fuck you Twitch attitude. And I think a lot of that gonna take some time to walk through it. Like, you know, Kick need to go through some therapy, learn to not be so vindictive to it at levels, you know, and it'd be fine eventually. The thing is, a lot of things have been put on the news that, you know, never fully go mainstream. Like, you know, because obviously, like, Twitch is not like what YouTube is, you know, and probably never will be to that extent. So, yeah, I mean, that was what you're talking about, but the whole thing is like, what you were talking about, like it being like coming quite more like a marketing event more so than genuine. And yeah, that is very true. Cause the thing is about like Twitch stuff, it like, don't forget, most of the celebrity that do Twitch outside of marketing reason of, you know, being a stunt is also once again tying back with the problem with like the music industry. Is, you know, the music industry, the perfect example of this, of the music industry, is you can't be a magician. We're not talking magic. You can't be you know, just straight up music. You know, you have to be your own PR person. You have to be, you know, your own brand. You have to be pleasant through like social media and stuff, because, you know, making music not gonna cut it anymore. And that's kind of how it is with like Twitch and celebrities. Like, how many celebrities have, you know, stream 3+ times a week every day for years on end? I imagine there'll probably 1 or 2 out there, but on average, you know, most of them are just in and out, or maybe do a couple streams here and there, and it like more exists in the ecosystem of like, you know, like the celebrity who popped on to like Kai stream. There's it more in that way. Like Twitch is treated more like a late night talk show, more so than like a prime time show, if you get what I'm meaning. For like a lot of them celebrities.
The amount of people who engage with any specific media thing, be it a TV show, film, listen to a band, or play a video game, only engage with that on a surface level. They watch the show, they listen to the music, they play the game, and they may enjoy doing these things, and they can call themselves a fan of the product, but the enjoyment is of the product, and that's it. If you join a forum to discuss a TV show you've seen, if you go and see a band in concert, if you start watching meta guides about a video game or reading the wiki, you are actually far more invested in that thing than the average enjoyer.
I asked a few community manager friends of mine if they could share some numbers on fan base interaction within their game. And the numbers they all shared matched up with something called the Pareto principle, which is one of my favorite mathematical constants. The Pareto principle is a weird 80-20 split, which pops up again and again in both natural and man-made systems. 80% of an output is caused by 20% of an input, and vice versa. On average, 20% of a business's customers will make up 80% of their revenue. 20% of your carpet at home gets walked on 80% of the time compared to the...
You know, to put in a picture what we're talking about here, this is the definition of how wells work, you know, and why a game can stay alive with 200 player base, you know, if like 5 of them are spending thousands of dollars every day.
The rest. If you fix the 20% most commonly reported problems in any system, you'll likely see an 80% reduction in problem reports. It's a really odd constant, and it applies here. Roughly 20% of a game's player base actively engage with the community beyond just playing the game. And of those people, 20% again are then responsible for 80% of the Wikipedia entries on the game. And as the engagement goes further, it keeps subdividing down in this 80-20 split. So imagine a game has, for ease of numbers, 10,000 players. On average, only 2,000 of those 10,000 are actively engaged in the game's community on a deeper level, like grinding for all the achievements or watching YouTube videos. Or
which is like, this is a perfect example of how like the PSO community is a perfect example of this. Of like how, you know, we have, Sega have what, like 2 to 3K ish, maybe ish, around 4 on update days. As far like theme is concerned, like theme numbers. But like if you look at, Epic, Windows, PlayStation, Xbox, with 2 now, you look at that demographic and like there are more people than like, the 3 to 4K playing on Steam. And then not even counting like Japan, but if we're gonna count Japan in there, like there are at least probably 150,000, 200,000 people playing PSO at any given point across every platform, every region. Hell, maybe more closer to 1 million or a little over. And then you go look at any like, social media poll, YouTube video, and like everyone caps out at like maybe 2.5, 3,000 views on like YouTube videos. Well, there's something like super crazy happens, like, Quopi reporting on like, the deaths of the big game. Like, you have little spikes like that, but like, you look at the average, and it literally like such a small percentage, and the small percentage is, the roof of that community engagement that you can be, and like Quopi being what, like 50K subs now, and only getting like 2 to 3K view every video on a game that probably have quote to 500,000 to 1 million player base. They're like a perfect example of this.
Reading the wiki. That's what I consider to be the first filter. Now, this might seem absurd to hardcore, frequently online people, because we get convinced that our bubble is representative of the general population. But it's not. I work in the MMORPG genre mostly, and everyone I speak to assumes everyone else is a hardcore gamer, looking up their rotations, min-maxing.
For example, Mason. Perfect example though of that.
Reading
like our discussion we had about, laziness versus capitalism drain,
Guides, reading the patch notes, because that's what they do.
We come to see those around us as the average, but if you step back and take gaming as a whole, you'll be reminded the MMORPG genre is still an extremely small part. In fact, some people who play video games won't even know what the acronym MMORPG means. Then realize that Twitch is a niche viewing experience itself, and you're stacking filters. It's a niche within a niche. So if we go back to the example of 10,000 total players reducing down to 2,000 enfranchised, understand that of those 2,000, a smaller percentage again, on average around 20%, will actively seek out live streams of a game, so around 400 people. Then consider those 400 people are going to be spread around the world and not all active at the same time or speak the same language, and your live stream only appeals to a small section of them. Filters within filters. But let's say somehow you manage to magically capture all 400 of those hypothetical people as viewers at the same time. You do not now have a balanced, varied cross-section of that game's player base watching you. You instead have 400 of the more dedicated, invested players, and both the streamer and the audience often forget this. So as a streamer, this brings a strange risk. You've already filtered your viewers and thus your daily interaction of a game's player base to the more enfranchised side. You can then begin to assume anything your viewers complain about are complaints shared by the player base as a whole, when they might not be. You can see situations, either YouTube videos or Twitch streams, saying everyone hates this. Players are leaving in droves. They've destroyed this build. They ruined the game.
Talking to you, Joe.
You are existing and working daily within that filtered bubble, the microcosm of invested players, those issues become the issues of the game.
And then the majority of people don't care.
But if you were to step back and zoom out and look at the original 10,000 players we started with, almost 80% of those players wouldn't even be aware anything had changed at all, because they're not reading the patch notes or playing the meta or watching videos. They just turn the console or PC
play the game and then log off,
and then turn it off and go and do other stuff. If you're watching IRL live streams and talking to other fans of those streamers, you may assume that everyone in the world knows who those streamers are and care about the drama they're involved in, when they just don't. The vast majority of people in the world don't even know who the most famous streamers are. More people watch YouTube than Twitch, and a huge amount of the world doesn't know who Mr. Beast is. So you're streaming and engaging with a rather limited audience already, which can give you a warped view of what is normal, but then geography limits it even more. Consider time zones. If you're not streaming when someone is awake, they're not going to watch you.
There's also getting into not in time zone. I would also like look at the difference between what we see at Twitch, you know, English speaking side of Twitch, and then go look at the Mexican and like South America like side, and it just like dwarfs like everything appealed to, you know, English speaking side. Like as a popular example of this.
Day of the week and the time of the day matter hugely.
If you only
can see that weekend.
If you only speak English, or you know, you just don't care about the overall picture, you might not even know that like literally there is I believe is he Portuguese or Mexican? I'm not for sure. Either way, like South America typed up, like a dude that like get multi-millions like live concurrents like anytime he do like a stream event. And then you look on the English speaking side and Kai got what? Maybe 50 to 100,000, which is like nothing. But you know, if you like only live in your bubble, you never ain't gonna will like that, and you would think Kai the biggest streamer ever. Which he not or was, since I think he retired. But, you know, like, absolutely, like, you can be blinded by your own bubble so easily.
On average, and this makes sense. People are off work and school, but then you need to get specific on which demographic you want and what that market want. I know it seems a little soulless and corporate to reduce viewers down to market demographics, but when it comes to geography and money, you kind of have to.
Yeah,
if you're streaming when it's 5 p.m. in London, when people are home from school and just finishing office jobs in the UK, it's midday in New York. So you'll be getting a UK and mainland Europe viewer base, but lacking on the Americas. But why does that matter?
I once had a marketing agency approach me to sponsor a video and then do a sponsored stream, and they told me that the budget for my involvement in their campaign was $30,000. That's how much I would get paid if my viewer base was 60% or more USA based. However, because my viewer base is not 60% or more US based, because I stream at normal UK times and so capture a more European audience, that budget for my involvement dropped from $30,000 to $5,000, because the product they wanted to push was hyper-focused on the US market.
Let me get
and after knowing that, I had to ask myself, do I need to change my schedule to appeal to a different demographic? Now, I didn't end up going with the campaign, and I haven't ended up changing my schedule. I've kept my mainland Europe focus, but it was certainly an interesting thought, because as a content creator, your value to advertisers is not necessarily how you stream, it's who you give them access to as a demographic.
I know that no one wants to look at the business side of this, because we all want to see it as friends hanging out and playing games, but if you're going to actually support yourself with streaming as a job and not just a hobby, you need to run your streams as a business, because they are. There are demographics which are simply more valuable to certain advertisers, and geographical location is one of the big ones. Viewers in Western countries usually have more disposable income, and the currency is usually stronger, or at least more stable. Then you can break it down by time zones where major cities have just left work. So as a streamer, part of your business plan is to be streaming when the market share you want, or you think advertisers will want access to, is watching, and thus they become your audience. Now, this is not saying
well, welcome to once again what Pirate Software did with his shorts, releasing them around like Silicon Valley release times, you know, weapon launch, dinner, like pushing it around that same time to get the Silicon Valley type, the people with the money, the people that would be interested in, you know, in listening to him go on about Blizzard, you know. Like, absolutely.
European or Asian demographics have less value, just different value to different companies. And paying sponsors, of course, know this. YouTube, however, doesn't really have this problem. If you put a video out, people all over the world are going to watch it whenever it suits them. Now, as we know, clips of streams and entire unedited VODs can be uploaded to YouTube, but you're losing the live appeal of Twitch if you do that. This means hours spent working on a YouTube video can retain their value for your audience globally, whenever the audience is ready. But hours spent live streaming actually have increased value for people who are able to join live, and advertisers know this. So one of the common questions I got during the whole thing was, why don't you just do YouTube and Twitch both full-time at the same time? Now, there's a reason you normally don't see people doing 8-hour Twitch streams and putting out multi-hour-long edited scripted videos, and it's because the time you'd spend doing one isn't really productive to the other.
Yeah.
When I'm playing a game to review it...
That is literally what I was talking about earlier. I don't know since the video can go up on YouTube. I don't know if it was in the YouTube video or was it before I hit record. But yeah, that's a discussion we was having of like the whole thing of like, you know, like the thing I've been doing with lately of just like on like bad streaming days of just like, is it really worth it? Do we need to cut our stream back to 3 days a week and then focus on just videos every other day? Because of, you know, this whole discussion here.
For a YouTube video, I'm usually capturing the footage of that gameplay at a decent resolution and frame rate. I'm focused on the gameplay, and my attention is entirely spent on analyzing and critiquing the game, so I can hopefully not miss anything important. When streaming, my screen has the game reduced in size, the live chat, and the webcam overlay, and my attention is on the live audience. I'll talk about attention splitting in depth later, because it's really important, but that brings up reaction content. Because the longer you spend on Twitch, the greater chance you'll come across it eventually. And this is honestly one of the few ways that you can full-time Twitch stream and put out scripted, researched, and edited high-quality videos. You can watch other people's videos, give your input live, then just re-upload the thing wholesale. Now, reaction content is a whole topic itself, and I'd recommend you watch Dark Viper AU's entire series breaking it down. I have a small appearance in the videos talking about the positives and negatives of this content, because I've benefited and suffered from it too. It's all in there. For now, let's get back to the 100 days Twitch streaming experiment. Both YouTube and Twitch, for all their differences, do reward consistency, and the audience want both quality and frequency, which can either mean making a video from scratch every few weeks to a month, or streaming for several hours on a given day. You can do one of these really well, or both of them worse.
But now we move on to your place within the streaming landscape if you do start to see a level of success, and how the game you choose or the style you choose to stream in can end up consuming you. Or, equally, it could end up with you representing it, and then all the qualities that go with it get imbued into you, both good and bad. For example,
hi G-Wiz.
Let's say you choose to stream an unknown, brand new game. A viewer comes in and you are, for whatever reason, even if you didn't mean to be, rude or obnoxious to that viewer. You haven't just affected that viewer's view of you, but also now of the game.
Community.
Because for the moment they were around, you were the representative of the game. You were the face of the player base. And your actions impact that player base as a whole. Now, equal and opposite, if you choose to stream a game which already has a reputation for political or sociological preferences because of the company that make it, then that gets imbued into you, and there will be viewers who believe you are, by way of streaming the game, endorsing the qualities of those who create it.
Also known as, you pull updates and stuff on Twitter? You might love Elon, right? You know, why are you using Twitter? Because I fucking gotta pay bills, you know, that whole discussion, coming in.
There are enfranchised viewers or people who spend a lot of time living in an online bubble who see every action or interaction through the lens of a cultural or ideological war. And any action on your half will be seen as either an aggressive or defensive move in the global
and the majority
online
of the
battle
PSO
of
community
morals
did.
that they see every day as.
What ends up happening over time is the loudest or most popular streamers come to be the face of a certain game, like Ninja with Fortnite, and you get this symbiotic relationship between the most popular streamer of a game and the audience of that streamer and the hardcore player base of that game. And it's important to note that I'm not saying every single hardcore player or fan of Fortnite is a fan of Ninja or vice versa. But for people outside of the gaming bubble, their understanding of gaming culture comes from whatever is popular and what they see. So they they see a huge amount of Fortnite merchandise, they see Ninja hosting the New Year's Eve celebrations, and they see one being referenced alongside the other constantly. So to the general public, the optics of games or genres become whichever representative, whichever content creator is the largest within that game or genre. Now, the benefit of this is the streamer will always have an audience and the game will always have a champion. But the risk is that the fall of one will have a knock-on effect on the other. If a game dies, its most popular streamer will see a reduction in views. If the streamer is caught up in controversy, the game now has a public relation issue to deal with. We have seen this play out time and time again with prominent popular content creators within a specific game or genre do something problematic, and then the game or genre have to put out a statement distancing themselves. This also means, as a streamer, people who dislike the game will instantly dislike you by association, and vice versa. Now, sometimes the streamer avoids a connection to a specific game, but instead pushes their personality. They are the loud, obnoxious one, or the calm, chilled one, and their audience becomes people who like that vibe. The game just acts as a framework to weave their personality and stream into. These would be your
away from the ideal of
the strength here is the ability to pivot games and never get locked to one which limits your viewer base. The weakness is you never become the champion of one game. So if a game does suddenly see a huge success, you don't get to ride that as easily to the top. Which means, broadly speaking, you either become a representative champion of a game or genre, gaining the benefits and risking the downsides, or you become a personality unto yourself and tie your success to your own content. Both can bring a lot of viewers, but even that has issues. The primary one being how success will morph your relationship to the audience that have brought you that success. One of the more almost Lovecraftian processes you'll see happen in streaming is how viewers become a monolith, and your relationship to them, performer to audience, audience to performer, becomes almost one of worshipper and deity, but you are both of those positions. The streamer is worshipped but also needs the audience, so they worship them too. Communication devolves into call and response, and nuance is pushed out, and the original action of communication is replaced with only the reaction to what the communication could have been. That sounds weird, so let me explain. When you start streaming, statistically, you won't have anyone watching you. The number of zero-view streams on Twitch is huge. If you have more than 11 viewers consistently, you're already in the top 3% of Twitch.
And
if you have more than 40 viewers, you're in the top 0.5% of Twitch channels, averaged by viewership alone. Now, at these viewing figures, you can still relate to each viewer as a person. These view numbers also allow you to have more intimate personal conversations, not about topic, but about energy and focus and personalized responses. You're talking to them as an individual, and they're talking to you as an individual. And some viewers love this type of stream. But as you get into the low hundreds of views, it begins to shift. The chat starts to move faster. And while you may still be able to pick out regular viewers' usernames, you start to get people who type and then you can't reply to, so they don't type again and they feel ignored. At this stage, you may still be able to see everyone in the stream as an individual viewer, there are just more of them. Conversations don't flow as easily, but they can still work, and you may need to scroll the chat back up if you miss a message while focusing on a hard bit of a game. But when you break the 1,000 viewer barrier, and then as you close in on 2,000 or 3,000, that personal connection begins to break down substantially. And while you may spot familiar usernames, you can no longer track everyone's different social handles. We've shot past the digital equivalent of Dunbar's number, and relationships are no longer personal and intimate, but more performer and audience. You can't really read long, detailed messages as well before the chat is pushed up and off the screen. So this is where communication goes from being personal to being performed. But I said Lovecraftian earlier, so to me, the Lovecraftian aspect of this is how individuals who are chatting begin to form into the entity simply known as chat. The collective singular, the monolith. Individuals all adding to the wall of text, which becomes chat, but no individual message takes priority over the vibes of the wall as a whole. Like a stadium full of people all singing the same song, you can't pick out any individual voice, so the crowd becomes a representation of everyone without actually being any one specific. Chat is everyone. Everyone is chat, but chat is also a singular being. They are legion. They are the Borg. At this stage, chat becomes a bored, childlike god, both there for the entertainment of you as a streamer, but also unknowingly totally powerful and able to change the direction of the stream, not as individuals but as a collective. However, due to the speed the messages move, complexity has to give way to simplicity, and message quality is now replaced with quantity, and we enter what I call the L and W phase.
If the chat was mostly L's, while I didn't know exactly what I was doing wrong or which individual I had hurt, I knew I was losing the audience as a collective. More W's, I was on the right track. Keep going. Now, this is extremely reductive, almost insultingly so. It's cold and impersonal. But at a certain volume of messages, it's kind of inevitable. You are the captain of the streaming ship, and while you may not know every single sailor on the ship, if they're all screaming they're about to crash, turn the ship.
And this is what I see happen to a lot of large streamers. Once they're big enough, the viewers almost accept the metamorphosis from individual connection or communication with a streamer to audience members connected and communicating mostly with each other. This is where the single letter responses or emojis or icons or canned chat reigns supreme, because at this point, interact with the stream isn't about recognition, it's about being part of a movement. When something funny happens, you type lol or send an emote not because you need the streamer to see your specific input, but because the other viewers are going to see it, and you know that you're adding a drop of water to the tidal wave of lol that the streamer does see. And now they know that chat found that funny. If you've ever seen the film Megamind or The Matrix, you know how the small robots end up forming a massive face at the end as a representation of the collective as a single entity? That's what larger chats end up feeling like. And as a streamer, trying to talk to that size of chat in any kind of personal way is almost impossible.
Going off on a slight tangent here, but one of the more insidious ways that streaming mentality is creeping into gaming culture, especially of the younger generation, is it's actually changing how younger people play games, because people see streamers as playing a game in a way which makes content. It's engaging and interesting to an audience, and so younger gamers bring that energy into their own life and their own non-streamer games, either alone or with their mates. The over-the-top reacting, the shouting, the screaming, even saying, "Chat, are we cooked?" has become something kids say in real life, in classrooms. Teacher friends have told me that streaming culture with kids is popular enough that lots of young students are speaking out loud as if they are presenting whatever they're doing to an imaginary audience. Bo Burnham was right. The idea of everything must be performed all the time. Kids are focusing on engaging with an imagined chat more than just enjoying their own game.
Now, I pride myself on at least trying to be able to read individual messages and give personalized responses to individual viewers, even at several thousand viewers per stream. It's a lot of attention splitting, which is something important I'll cover soon, but the moment I start to see chat as this nameless entity, instead of engaged individuals, I try to step back, pick out messages and reply to people, to let people know, even if I can't name you, I can engage with you and reply to you. One risk you will face in talking to a lot of people every day is you'll talk to a lot of socially maladjusted, awkward, or straight-up cruel people. And the longer you engage, the more content and clips can be created, which in a way is a level of...
This is like the reason why you will see streamers, like randomly, especially big streamers, would just randomly bring up profile and chat boxes. God damn you, Joe! You just went back like 30 minutes. Lucky enough. I'm happy I saw where I was wobbly. So, joke's on you, Joe! I need to turn that shit off. I need to turn that shit off bad. I need to take it off numbers, and then we're going to do it by typing. You guys have too much power here, chap. You have too much power. Yeah, we're just gonna go back to about heel, chap. Let's say what, 38 seems fine. We might be 40 seconds off. You know, thinking about it, chap. Speaking of you all becoming your own creatures here, I think I'm gonna flip that off for a moment. Anyway, after Joe decided to break everything for a moment, what were we chatting? Damn it. Oh, what were we? I don't remember.
which is something
they will come
important
back
I'll
to me.
cover soon, but the moment I start to see chat as this nameless entity, instead of engaged individuals, I try to step back, pick out messages, and reply to people, to let people know,
You're gonna
even
go
if I
back a little
can't name
bit,
you,
then
I
chat
can
can
engage
control
with you and reply
my
to
video
you.
player.
One risk you will face in talking to a lot of people every day is you'll talk to a lot of socially maladjusted, awkward,
Oh
or
yeah,
straight
Dream of
up
bringing up
cruel
boxes.
people. And the longer you
To make
engage, the
content.
more
Content out of
and
them.
clips can be created,
Yeah, bringing
which
up
in a
chat
way
box.
is a level of marketing. But the more you do this, the more you'll harm your own mental health or harm the viewing experience. Remember, he who fights with monsters should look to it that he that. Why do people
I'm watching you, chat. I'm watching you, chat. Sorry, YouTube. Chat have too much power, chat. Chat literally have too much power. But I get now that been worked out. Yeah, like the whole thing of like I get the whole like bringing that up to call people out, because then it like you use an example to teach your audience or chat what okay and what isn't okay. Building that kind of like realization in your community, but also that stuff is easy stuff to be quipped out into shorts and whatnot. Because most people who do stupid messages don't get that long of voting usually. And then also them also quip. No, we trying to fight the ADHD here, Joe. Damn it. God damn it. You guys are the one with ADHD right now. But yeah, like it's like also by doing that kind of stuff, not only is it like easy content to put on other platforms, but also a very quick way of getting like proof that the person who being screamed at or someone who think they right and the streamer wrong can also then go bitch about it on like social media and Reddit and whatnot, which is just it's just the circle of free viewership. Because the whole bad popularity and good popularity.
Your inventory, it's full.
It's getting out, Joe. It's getting out. We're not even halfway through the video, but yeah, the thing about the mental health stuff is like, yeah, this I kind of feel like when it comes to the whole like this eating away at you is like you like I don't know what is it Sam sometimes thinks I'm a sociopath for like this idea, or there's a lot of idea in that whole context. Like example, like Sam would get like dozens of plays, and then she get one bad like thumb down comment, and she just in a wreck for the rest of the night into the next day, or to that bad comment go away, one or the other. And then I'm on the other side of that spectrum of just like, which I think this is really for me, is being able to have that like disconnect of realizing when someone is like dumb or stupid or just like in a aggressively like trying to get a reaction type of way. Not like they stupid from being uneducated or not lacking knowledge, but like in a way that is much more them just lashing out type of way. Is for me, I'm usually pretty good about being like, if someone get to that point with me, it like, I wouldn't say a check out, but it like that person, once it hit like the shit list, I guess you could say, that person did not recognize in my head as another person, especially when it's like online through like tags or comments. Which might be not the might be kind of wooed in a lot of ways, but it like if you like normal-ish, you're like, yeah, cool, you fine. But when you hit like a certain point of just shit lists, it like that person comment mean nothing more than just being like a number or jumping off point for a discussion, for education moment, for a viewership moment. And so the comment don't do nothing to me. I said, Sam think I'm a sociopath because of a lot of that. But I feel this in real life as well, with interacting with real people as well. But But the thing is, like, I will admit freely, like, my ability to do that is not the norm. Most of the norm in content creation is more like Sam. One bad comment and you're a fucking wreck. So, like, yeah, that can be horrible on your mental stability as a content creator. Because you're going to get them people no matter what. Like, because, you know, there are people that just want to lash out because they don't have no other control in their life. So trying to make you mad, angry, or cry is the amount of control that will bring them pleasure. Then they have no other control in life itself. Like, I get it. I get why people like that. But, you know, sadly that work on a lot of people as far as, like, actually taking that mental hit from it. So, you know, I like, there's one thing about content creation, I'm happy. I'm happy that my tisms and trauma elite come in handy though. You know, one of, like, you know, trade-off superpowers, I guess, or, you know, maybe lack thereof, depending on what therapist you ask, but, you know.
This, the more you'll harm your own mental health,
But
or
don't-
harm the viewing
Real
experience.
quick though, while you're on YouTube, yes, I do hunt bunnies on the weekend. I am secretly Elmer Fudge at the end of the day.
Remember, he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you. A famous saying by the Baldur's Gate 1 intro movie. Hello,
Nice.
Editing Josh here. I said this video was going to be an honest reflection of my time streaming, so I think this bit matters. While making this video, the Josh Strife Hayes clip channel uploaded this clip titled, "I Can't Do This Anymore." In the clip, I'm playing Darkest Dungeon, and in it, I lash out at a viewer in a really unfair and totally uncalled for way. Watching it back, I can see that my behavior was unacceptable. Frankly, I was a bit of a condescending dick. And I've left
We
a
all
pinned
have the
comment
moment.
apologizing and taking full responsibility for that. Now, I wanted to add this bit not as an excuse, but as an honest reflection of my own hubris. This happened
This
toward
is a
the
bit
end of
more
the 100
depressing than even I was imagining. Figures.
Hey, that's what happened. Sometimes any jock can get depressing.
day experiment. I've been spending so much time every day engaging with people who were either asking repetitive questions or messaging in bad faith or deliberately trying to just be negative that it was changing me. And I didn't realize how much that constant negativity had been affecting my overall demeanor. I never wanted to assume the worst about anyone who joined chat, even if they did join with a bad attitude or a
You wait for them to do
confrontational tone.
something.
And maybe this is naive of me, but I would try to talk to people and offer some common ground, even if I could tell we were going to disagree, even if those chats were mentally and emotionally draining. But I realized by this point, I'd been giving so much of my emotional and mental energy to difficult people without a break, I ended up lashing out at people who didn't deserve it because I saw them as having bad intentions even if they didn't. This was the
This is
moment
no
for
problem
me
with
that
Sam
the
wanting
abyss
to a lot.
stared back. And I realized that no matter how strong I am, giving thousands of strangers access to my emotional state every day was turning me into somebody I didn't like anymore. The bitterness I was seeing in the worst examples of the internet was seeping into me, and I was becoming just as bitter. Darkest Dungeon was right. Overconfidence really is a slow and insidious killer. One of the biggest strengths about live streaming is the connection with the audience, but genuine connection comes with genuine risk, and you have to constantly balance the genuine level of emotional vulnerability you're willing to show, which shows the audience the real you, and a more rehearsed persona, what I call a hyper-real
This is why we're talking about
version of
earlier
yourself,
about the breakdown
which is
that
still
can happen
based on you as
of
a foundation
having-
and is entertaining, but
I'd like to break down that could happen, especially when you is the product instead of, you know, all the other, you know, pills he talked about. This is what I was talking about specifically, you know, earlier.
isn't as emotionally open. To take these to the extremes, have you ever met someone who is too emotionally vulnerable? They feel intensely. Everything anyone says gets taken to heart, overanalyzed and thought about for hours, maybe even
Hi, Sam.
days. The description of thin-skinned would suit this person, even if it would be slightly offensive. But the positives about talking to them is you do know they're genuinely listening to you. On the opposite end, have you ever met someone who reacts with sarcasm for absolutely everything? They will turn any interaction into a joke. Nothing is serious or genuine. Any attempt at emotional connection is met with
or depressing.
dismissal.
I have had the depressing side.
This is often because they're terrified of being emotionally vulnerable,
everything is bad,
so they use these defense
good
mechanisms
news.
to never let anyone in. Both of these people are equally draining to spend time around, and as a streamer, you have to bounce between being both of them to protect your own mental health. If you're streaming, you're going to experience both and have to balance both, because some of the audience will want that genuine emotional connection, and it can be really sweet, even restorative for both performer and audience to feel genuinely seen and understood. But other people are going to take advantage of any kindness that you show and use that to demand attention. And then if they get that attention, they'll derail the conversation into whatever benefits them. There may be conversations where someone annoying or irritating or honestly just lonely comes in, and part of you, and I know this is something I do, recognizes that in general, hurt people hurt people. And I'm not a psychologist or a therapist. I'm not claiming to be. But if I show a little kindness and engage a bit with these people who are clearly struggling, maybe someone who joins the stream with limited amounts of bad intentions or in bad faith will actually see they don't need to be that way here. They can find somewhere comfortable to be. They can fit in here. But anytime you spend engaging with these people, even if you have the best intentions, could potentially be harmful to the rest of your audience.
Yeah.
Remember how the disruptive kid or the bullies back in school got all the teachers' attention and ended up ruining the class, while the well-behaved kids got nothing and felt neglected? It's the same situation here. You end up with a kind of mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep thing going on. And as much as you might want to save someone from themselves and try and show kindness, you don't want to show empathy at the cost of everyone else's understanding. As a streamer, you want to be emotionally available so the audience can see that you're human too, but dealing with so many people means that you'll need to periodically close yourself off and reassess who you engage with and for how long, to both keep the energy of the stream and your own mental health in check, because interacting with that many people every day will change you, whether you want it to or not. If you've worked in retail, you've probably heard the phrase, "Didn't scan? It must be free," so many times that you cringed at me even saying it here. Or asking a customer, "Anything else I can
Just
get
a
you?"
little
And
bit.
they reply,
That
the winning lottery numbers.
That is Sam
or even, "How
doing
about
it with
you?"
Daniels.
Depending on how creepy the
feel that
customer
feeling.
is. It's the same as cleaning and hearing someone say, "You missed a spot." Those interactions are nothing to the customer. They think they're being funny and forget them the moment they leave the shop. But to you, every instance is a tiny amount of psychic chip damage. Not enough to register as pain, but enough to slowly erode. Like a wave battering a rock face, or a stone breaker striking the hammer. The damage is being done, but people only notice when the cliff crumbles or the stone splits. Not understanding it wasn't any individual strike of the hammer that split the stone, but the collective action of all of them. The same is true when a streamer crashes out, and believe me, crash out you will. The choice you make is, do you want to do it on stream or off stream? Do you have the mental resilience to know it's time to turn the camera off and take a moment, or do you want to do it on stream because you know it's going to become a good marketing bit for you? It's inevitable that you will interact with people whose entire goal is to upset you. Adults with the mentality of children, or worse, the active cruelty of unhappy people. And the common advice is, well, just
unhappy
ignore
people
it, but that works about as well as telling a kid to ignore the school bully, because you have...
Let's be honest, I think dealing with people that are like act like children, you treat them as such, but yeah, the active one,
have to have noticed the behavior or read the message to know that it's something that you shouldn't have noticed and shouldn't have read. And reading the message, even if you don't take the sentiments to heart, even if you know it's something that doesn't matter, will still add a small amount of negativity to your day. And over time, the more energy that you keep giving to negative things, the more bitter you become. And thinking that you are immune to this is the fastest way to exposing yourself to far too much of it. If you, as a viewer, leave a negative comment or send a negative message for whatever reason, maybe you were having a bad day, maybe you're just a bit unhappy, it doesn't even register as something that matters to you. You forget it instantly. It's a short scream into the void.
Yeah,
But
you
as
can't
a
help your
streamer,
chats.
You're actually living and working inside the void that all the others are screaming into. And if you don't step away from it and mentally defragment every now and again, it will break you. This is why, despite many viewers asking me to stream my other hobbies, like building and painting Warhammer, or playing Magic the Gathering, or building and making cosplay, because they would love to watch me do it, or body double with me while they do it, I need those things to exist outside of content. Because once you start seeing your entire life as content, you can never switch off. You are human. You need downtime or you'll burn out.
This makes streaming, while again not the most difficult job in the world by far, rather mentally intense. You're acting as the teacher of a class full of anyone who wants to wander in and managing everyone's behavior. They say the community of a stream is an extension of the streamer. So if you let a few risque or offensive jokes slide at anyone's expense, while you're not saying you directly approve, you're actually showing approval by proxy of not stepping in and shutting the behavior down. The audience doesn't just see what you endorse. They see what you don't admonish. And just like the annoying kid in the school will hold a finger right next to you and say, but I'm not actually technically touching you, so you can't get annoyed at me, chatters will see how far they can push the boundaries of what you do allow. And in doing so, the remaining community will mold itself around that. You get to show people what is acceptable and how you want to be treated, and they will treat you based on what you allow. Remember the...
Yeah, this is like the reason, like, you're on a ticking time bomb, chat. but like, honestly, this is like the reason why, like, you know, you guys have opinions over time. Last time it was X, time before it died, time before that, like Tali, so on, so on, so on. You know, insert whatever timeline you form. It don't happen often, but this is like the main reason why, you know, I have the opinion of, like, you know, obviously it sucks. It really do. You know, losing people in the community that have been around forever. Quote unquote forever. But at the same time, it's like the reason why, like, you know, you will see every now and again, you will see someone that could be here for years. You know, will still get banned. Because it's like, you know, you gotta have a line somewhere. And, you know, watch tweets and times and donations and, you know, all the many other things of Twitch. You know, none of that is safe. Because I feel like, you know, don't get me wrong, some people's lines are way more thinner than others, you know, depending on the person, once again. But at the same time, it's like, I'm a firm believer, like, you have to have a line at somewhere, and viewership or money or subscriber or whatever, none of that in the end will matter, to especially matter in a way that will actually affect negativeness into the stream itself. So once, like, that line is crossed, you know, you gotta pull the trigger, man. You know, and if they've been here for, like, you know, been anywhere for like years and give thousands of dollars, like, you know, yeah, your bank account and your socialness is like, yeah, again, way to go. But at certain points, you know, you gotta pull the trigger for the greaterness of everything, not only your psyche but everyone else around the psyche as well.
Famous saying, any community that gets its laughs by pretending to be idiots will eventually become flooded by actual idiots who mistakenly think they're in good company. So let's expand on a strange aspect, the idea of the hyper-real, a persona instead of a person. Because if you do become successful, you become a streamer with a capital S. No longer a verb to describe what you do, but a noun to describe who you inherently are. And everything you do, both on and off the platform, is now content, and any choice you make which could become social or seen is on some level performative, because you are a brand. You are the product. You're not necessarily lying, but you're not being entirely yourself either. Take me. A few years ago, I started wearing white shirts and waistcoats on stream and in videos. They were comfortable, easy to find. It's not a complex style, but it became recognizable.
Yeah, it became a look.
It morphed into a uniform as more.
Kind of like how back in the day when I was at Edgeplay, when I did stream, I had a pimp hat on, which I still have, by the way. And like, anytime I didn't have the pimp hat on, old people was angry. Back then.
Wind kept reminding me.
Where's your uniform? Oh, that's gonna get real old real quick.
Then I started holding my microphone by putting it in a mug to reference all those video essayists who hold it in strange ways. I even got featured in a video literally about why YouTubers hold microphones weird. This had two consequences. First, I could benefit from it. White shirt, waistcoat, and mugraphone. It became my thing. It became so recognizable within the community that YouTubers reached out to me and made me into a limited time plushie, wearing a white shirt and a waistcoat holding a mug. This wouldn't have happened unless I had a recognizable uniform. But the downside is you can't really change. And some of the latest streams I went with a quarter zip jumper or a Henley style shirt, and the messages were, why are you not dressed in a white shirt and a waistcoat? People saw me wearing different clothes, and the mental model they have of me, the persona they expected, was different to what they got, and their first response was to question it. Because
this is like the whole thing why in the angry video game door all wore the same outfit, or to put another example of the whole thing of the running joke, if Tony Hawk is not on a skateboard, you don't know it's Tony Hawk. Because I think this is the thing some people don't realize, that your silhouette work the same way as a good silhouette in a video game or any amount of art. You know, when you can see a black and white and instantly know what it is, who it is, or where it come from, the same shit can happen with real people as well.
People have an idea of what you are, and if you don't match up to that, they have to know why. Then you've got your social media attached. Twitter, Insta, TikTok. These become extensions of the stream persona. You're not using them as a social media as much anymore, but advertising media, marketing media. The point of these becomes driving engagement to monetized platforms like your Twitch or your Patreon. Because like it or not, people will see whatever you post on these social media platforms and then ask you about it on your Twitch or on your YouTube. Everything is now connected. Now, does this mean you're just acting and performing and lying? Well, no, not at all. It means there's a level of curation that is happening in an active way, in your presentation and in your delivery. Just how you wouldn't talk to your boss in the same way you'd talk to your best friend, or we act differently in a fancy restaurant or a water park or a nightclub. All of these places having different dress codes and behavioral expectations. And doing each of them individually is fine, but if you were to turn up to a restaurant in Speedos and start raving, you'd draw some attention and some questions. And this idea of a uniform and a customer service voice isn't unique to streaming at all. If you've worked in retail or hospitality, it's the same idea. You're expected to wear a uniform because the customers have a mental image of what somebody helping them needs to look like and sound like. The clientele have expectations, and you need to meet them.
Streaming becomes the same. You curate this digital space where you belong, then you place yourself in it as the nucleus that the audience and community is built around. And the audience you get value consistency, and marketing values recognizable motifs and brand loyalty.
Welcome
in
to the
entertainment,
now.
the audience say they want brand new experiences, but studies have shown this just isn't true. Sequels and reboots do way better than original stories in general. So what I believe is the audience wants something called familiar novelty, which is something they'd never seen before that they instantly understand.
For example, look at sitcoms. My favorite example of this in sitcom, that can be me dating myself a little bit, is you look at Roseanne from the 90s, I should say. 80s and 90s. You look at the original Roseanne series, and then you go look at Married with Children. They are the exact same show, but from the opposite point of view. Of Roseanne being from more of a muddle point of view, and Married with Children being from a father point of view. And then the delinquent net that come from being pretty much white trash on both sides. They are the same show if you boil it down. Which is the main reason why when you look at a lot of sitcoms, especially sitcom from like 70s, 80s, and 90s, the setup might change. Maybe you got two broke girls, or maybe you got a group of friends in a coffee shop. But you look at the tropes, the storytelling, the way stuff is structured, that familiarity of being able to jump in. Reality shows have it with, the confessionals, or people getting in fit fight in kitchens for some reason. That That is literally what this is. Yeah, it's a new appearance. But is it?
The excitement of the new with the comfort of the known. And your persona and looks become the known as your streams become the new. But this also creates a bit of an odd problem, which sounds incredibly arrogant until you've had to experience it yourself. As you succeed, more and more people will want to be your friend or hang out with you. People will message you and say, hey, if you're ever in this area, I'll buy you a drink, we'll have a chat. Or you'll get Discord or Twitter messages from viewers who talk to you like an old friend, like they've known you forever, despite the fact you've never met them. Because in their mind, the hundreds of hours they've spent with you on YouTube or Twitch is connection time. Now, this is orders of magnitude worse for female creators, but what it ends in is people want to be friends with the persona that you present, not the person you are. People don't know you. They know the version of you that entertains them.
But at the end of the day, you need ramping up.
At a convention or a gaming event, there's a level of energy I'm reserving to make sure I'm performing the character of Josh Strife Hayes as opposed to just being naturally me in any scenario. And if you've ever met me, you might be thinking, does that mean that I was lying to you? Think about it like this. If I meet 100 people and one of those interactions is negative, that's just a 1% negativity rate for me. I can live with that. But to that one person, that was the only thing they know of me. That was their entire interaction. That becomes their story. That becomes their memory. That becomes the Reddit post of I met Josh Strife Hayes and he was a dick. So if you meet lots of people, which you will do if you find success, you have to understand those people are coming to you with expectations. And if people have expectations, you've only got 3 possible things you can do. Exceed them, which is difficult to do, match them, which you bloody hope you do, or disappoint them, which you hope you never do.
Now, to people who don't have a lot of friends, this may sound great, a way to connect to lots of people very quickly, but remember there's a difference between showing a base level of civility and social grace towards someone and actual deep friendship with them. And people who aren't very socially adept often confuse someone being friendly with someone being their friend. And unfortunately, the online space features a larger percentage of socially awkward people than the general public. People who will latch onto any level of friendliness shown to them a little bit too strongly. And from a streamer point of view, you then have no idea who is a genuine safe person to allow into your life. I've known people get close to creators just to film or record them in private in the hopes they do something awful so they've got blackmail leverage. Or people who value the prestige of having a famous friend because it brings clout to them, instead of actually caring about the connection with that person. So if you stream and become successful, like any level of entertainment, people will suddenly like you, but you won't truly know if they like the persona that you're presenting, or the prestige of the connection, or the potential for personal gain that you now bring them. Because you as a streamer are presenting a persona as a product, and that is what most people who don't understand the job see as real 100% of the time. Remember, there are people who genuinely dislike the actor Jack Gleeson because of his portrayal of Joffrey on Game of Thrones. Now, it was an excellent acting performance, but people do struggle to separate the acting performance from the actor themselves. And with live streaming, while again you are not lying, you do not know which audience members are able to separate you as an actual real human being from you as the persona they have built up of you in their mind. Now, one of the most common ways to reduce the mental load of streaming is to co-stream or duo stream. Have a friend on your own stream, play games with friends, have them on voice chat. Twitch even has a collaborate feature where you can share live stream chats. And this is something I see newer streamers fall back on a lot without realizing that Twitch is a performance, and bringing someone else onto your performance is risky. Much like bringing an untrained actor onto an improv theater show, you don't know the quality that you're now adding. There are a lot of small...
I would also add on that is if your stream have a vibe, which doesn't make me mind, like, you know, we usually don't do like co-op stream per se. Cause let's be honest, even when Sam is on stream, she's not gonna let me fucking go off on a 3-hour tangent about, you know, the quarter of me being blind that I can't see or some shit. You know, she's not gonna do it. Cause Sam's gonna check out, and you know, that day I know I'm looking over, and you know, she 3 sheet to the wind, and like, the whole thing. Which is, you want like your vision and stuff. We have our moments, but I thought like trying to do it long term beyond like 5 minutes of just like chitty chat or like Bitcoin now, like that is one thing upheld to like, doing it just as is. And then like I said, an example be like Maconn is around. Is the whole thing of just like, I don't want to say like the vibes get off because that might be a little too mean, depending. But like, if your stream is set up with like a certain structure or certain like community feeling, and then you throw someone else in there, it like that stream is not the same. Once again, going back to the whole thing like you were talking about with like needing that familiarity, and usually, as we all know, when it comes to people, whoever you're interacting with, like every person have a different version of you interacting with them. And like, yeah, it just one of them things that always feel like off to me, because it's like, not matching the consistent like vibe, I guess is the way to put it. I guess vibe would be the best way to put it. And I think that is the biggest thing about like doing co-op stuff. And I think honestly that was the one thing that took me a bit to learn. At least on Twitch anyway, because back when we was at Edge Play, and I had Beans on, our editor at Edge Play. Like when he was on with us, back in the Edge Play day when we streamed, he was always on Skype. I was playing the game and he was mainly the one bullshitting, and I chimed in every once in a while. And then like, after leaving Edge Play and doing it alone, I had to learn how to be the vibe, instead of being the vibe. And the thing is like, I feel like maybe in one of them cases like, you got no viewership or anything, or you do a day one out of the gate like an extra play. It's like one thing, could that become the vibe? But I kind of feel like if you have a certain type of stream, like bringing in other people like once in a while, control a lot of that off and become a little I don't want to say uncomfortable, maybe uncanny might be a little more accurate, like you guys, or at least for me anyway. It does, which is the main reason why I don't do a lot of like cooperative stuff. Like doing it wrong, we doing it like in like a separate type of format, like a very specific event at Your Vision, or like a podcast or something. Then like that a whole different thing, that like at least for me separate into like a different kind of medium. But if I'm like example, like I'm streaming right now, and then could be like, join me on Skype and we do it, it just like you could see the switch over there. And I don't know, that is just something that it just like, the vibes get off on that point. At least from like a streamer point of view, like making video point of view. Not actually engaging with, people point of view, just mainly for the stream itself. But yeah, that would be the thing there, was like, but then again, if you bring it on people every single stream, different people, same people, whatever, obviously it'd be different for the time that will happen, But yeah.
Streams which are just a group of mates playing together, and that's fun to do, but it's not always fun to watch, especially if you as an audience member aren't part of the friendship group. You're dealing with different microphone qualities, different senses of humor, different volumes, sometimes very little chemistry between the players as performers. And as a viewer, if you ever watched your favorite streamer try to collaborate with other streamers and the vibes just don't match, you don't know who's going to talk when, they don't play the same way, you know how much that can kill the energy of the stream.
Literally,
as
what
fun
I was
as it
just
can
talking
be
about.
to watch a large number of successful
Which is the
streamers
reason I
play
can't
a
really
game
do
together,
co-op,
it can
like,
often
streams.
descend into
Like
noisy
watching
chaos.
it will.
And while some viewers love noisy chaos, it's not for everyone. So as a streamer, pick your co-hosts or duo streams very carefully. When the energy matches, like when I did a duo Borderlands stream with the comedian John Robertson, it could be an absolute treat. Or when the Albion Online streams had Nomad Poncho on voice chat helping me out. But these chemistries are rare. So if you're finding success in streaming and your mate who loves Among Us keeps saying, dude, we should play and stream us on voice chat together, it'd be so funny.
Yeah, bet you
Consider if
something
that's
else.
what your audience actually want, because it might not be funny for them.
One aspect people often overlook are the physical health effects of sitting and playing video games for a long time, and anyone that
This is
works
why
in
I'm
an
dying,
office
chat.
already knows this. You're spending hours, often daily, often for months at a time, staring at a screen that's very close to you, with stage lights shining in your eyes. For the first few weeks of doing
don't
this,
miss
I
that,
kept getting
chat.
headaches, which progressed into migraines, and eventually I started getting rings of blurred vision in my eyes, which grew over time, and I couldn't read the text on the screen. And I realized it was from a ring light physically burning into my eyes, which is why I started streaming with sunglasses on. I had to go to an optician to check that I was okay. Thankfully, I was. But I had to ask myself, what do I value more? Being lit well or long-term eye health? Now, gaming chairs are
Well, couldn't
popular.
it be
Hell,
too,
I've got
buddy?
one. It's a
You know?
Warhammer one. It's cool, but it's not the kind of chair specifically designed for maximum comfort over a long period of time. You'll find this with a lot of the gaming or content creation aesthetic. What looks cool doesn't always serve the most practical purpose. Streaming then means you're inside, away from sunlight, not being super mobile, and often not drinking enough water. Now, these aren't new problems.
have water
Anyone
around me,
who's
Josh.
worked in an office knows the detriments of a sedentary lifestyle. But one of the health factors streamers overlook often is nutrition, because gaming or geek culture glorifies certain unhealthy foods. So if you're streaming, you're embedded in streaming culture, and that glorifies chocolates, sweets, and snacks. Sam Wilder has a great video where he just eats content creator promoted food. It's pretty interesting. Go and buy some gamer subs. Use code Josh for 10% off. In fact, that's a great segue to talk about money. So let's talk about money. One of the most common comments I kept seeing was bros switched from YouTube to Twitch because it is easier and makes more money. And let me just dispel this myth in relation to me immediately, because no, it's not. And no, it doesn't. Now,
Yeah, because, man, the thing about the money side, I would say, once again, you know, we're not over here making millions. We lucky we make more than $300 a month. Let's be real. Let's be totally honest here. The most money I have ever made through content creation was like, I think like $700 in 1 month. But like on my average back in the day was about around 3-ish. Maybe a little over 3. Like 300. Like now, you know, I don't even make payout most of the time, which is also going into, you know, the future of the channel. But nonetheless, that's a problem for, you know, a little bit down the road. But because I didn't even make payout last months. I made paid out the month before, but that's because I had 2 months, because I didn't get payout the month before that. YouTube at that point paid me out once every like 6-7 months. Twitch seemed to be every other month right now. Let's be honest, if it wasn't for Sam and, you know, whenever we get like a one-off sponsorship, such as, you know, Darwin Paradise recently, which I still need to remove that. I'm no longer sponsored for that. I still need to get that out of chat. But, you know, like, the thing is overall, I would say, we will see if Josh agree with me on that. At least at the scale we was at our biggest, you know, every video getting like 2K view biggest. Is Twitch, to most people, Twitch would look like more money. But the thing is about Twitch is more like in the moment money. You know, when like see them going off with, you know, tips, or, you know, T.I. were doing cam trains, or, you know, Aqua dropping, you know, bit just so you can brag on it. Like, you know, it give the vision of a lot of money. But the problem that comes from that is Twitch is more money in the moment. You know, well, YouTube money, when it works and your channel is, you know, getting viewerships and YouTube is pushing all your old content, is it might seem like less money, but it's more money over a longer term a period. So what ends up being like 500 one month on Twitch would be like $2,000, you know, over like 2-3 months, or like $4,000 over like 3 or 4 months. Which is why YouTube make more money, because of it more money over a longer amount of time. Well, Twitch is very in the moment. That is where the separation is. I think a lot of people don't realize. You know, one is then and now, and then the other is like more money over, you know, yields.
Different creators will have different processes. My streams, I try to keep really high energy, reading as many messages as I can, responding as much as I can, while still playing whatever game I am to what I hope is an acceptable level. This means I'm often talking non-stop for 5 to 8 hours while also trying to read the text in the game or react to whatever's happening. From a purely energy-given point of view, the hours spent streaming, at least for me, were much more mentally draining and physically straining on my voice than sitting and editing and making a YouTube video.
It still might be what wrong with me, chat.
From 3.5 months of what I would consider very successful Twitch streams was similar to around 2 months of YouTube ad revenue alone, not counting sponsored videos.
Yep.
And that's not taking into account the passive income from older videos or the boosts that older videos get when you put a newer one out.
Yeah,
from a financial point of view, YouTube is also much safer to take breaks from and return to, because your previous videos keep earning money and keep being recommended even when you're not there.
That's you got
Twitch, you need to be there to generate the subs and the donations and the ad revenue. Now, we've heard the stories of the largest streamers in the world still making tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from recurring subscriptions when they aren't even streaming, but that's not the average experience. In this way, YouTube is closer to a salaried job which pays on results, while Twitch is closer to hourly, which pays on the process. I've often said to people, it's easier to make £10 on Twitch right now, but it's much easier to make 10,000 on YouTube in the long term.
Yep.
But interestingly, Twitch and live streaming
Yep.
are becoming more valuable to advertisers, flipping the historically YouTube prioritized balance on its head. But why? Well, it's because it's combining two things that advertisers really love: a modern standard of luxury and a more invested audience. So as a streamer, you are more valuable, but you need to understand the risks of both gaining and then extracting that value. First, the luxury thing. This is Rory Sutherland. He's an advertising executive and gives some fantastic talks on the nature of advertising and our relationship as people toward any level of a marketing campaign. I find what he talks about fascinating. And he spoke recently on the changing standards of the word luxury in modern society. Don't worry, this is going somewhere. Basically, what luxury is,
you can have more than 1 meal a day, chat.
And luxury is often focused on rarity. Something is more luxurious the fewer people have it. The limitation is part of the experience. And historically, luxury was connected to material wealth and shows of excess because fewer people had access to that. Supercars, fancy dinners, lots of holidays to nice places.
Now, like, you got clothes with no holes in it?
But
you live in the high life.
Because people can now just rent the supercar or the private jet for a photo shoot. They can hire the clothes, which means the optics of having those things simply isn't as rare. So what is becoming rarer is genuine human-to-human connection. How many times have you called up a customer support network and had to listen to a pre-recorded message or talk to an AI chatbot online before you get to a human? How many times have you been into a high street brick-and-mortar store or your bank and been told, "We can't help you with that, call the service line"? Well, with the increasing rise in automation and AI, human contact itself is becoming the luxury because of its increasing rarity. Twitch does that better than YouTube. You type a message, the streamer reads it, you get a response. In a world of more entertainment than you could possibly experience, the personal touch is the standout feature. It's the connection to the performer that itself is the luxury. Combine that with how YouTube advertising is seeing a bit of a downturn. If you have YouTube Premium and watch on your PC or TV, you can automatically just skip commonly skipped sections of a video, which are almost always the sponsored segment. Meaning companies are paying for a 30, 60 or 90-second ad spot, which are just being skipped through. And fully sponsored videos see lower than average view counts historically, due to most viewers not wanting to watch what they consider to be a full-length advert. But Twitch streams are there as background noise, and as long as the streamer is popular enough to have people watching them, they will be watched regardless. Daily viewers aren't going to turn their comfort background noise off just because the stream is now sponsored. Many of them even support them, saying, "Go and get that bag." So content creator agencies are seeing an increase in demand for Twitch streamers and reduced demand for YouTube sponsor segments. They're still there, it's just lower than it used to be. Combine this with how streamers often get access to new games before launch or codes to play those games on the day of, and you've got a load of players who will browse Twitch to watch gameplay, and if the streamer they like is playing a game they've heard about, the streamer happens to have an affiliate link, the viewer is more likely to then buy the game. If a YouTuber gets access to a game the day of release, it will still take them a few days to actually make a video, playing, scripting, editing, uploading. And in the content world, being first is more valuable than being right, which is why some of the earliest YouTube videos we get for any new game are full of mistakes. And yet, they will still get views. And people are beginning to realize this, which is why they're valuing watching a live experience over trusting the earliest YouTube videos.
So from a content creator's...
I would also add to that, this is maybe also more on the game side. I will add also the affiliates playing early and seeing videos of it early. Don't mean that game ain't gonna be the same as it is when it come out publicly to everyone else. For example, that you understand, Joe, what Crimson Desert have done from launch to today. Not even really the same game in the same way.
View, companies are going to send you access to the latest games and updates, which is going to get you the audience of early adopters and interested gamers. You're able to interact directly with them, which appeals to modern luxury standards, and you're more likely to make a sale than a YouTube sponsor spot, which are becoming increasingly easier to skip by the day. The danger, however, you become a marketing tool, and the audience can tell. Now, don't get me wrong, it can pay well, it can pay very well. Some of the larger streamers can make hundreds or even thousands of dollars per hour for a sponsored stream. If you do gambling streams, you can literally make in the millions. But every time you do, you're alienating part of your audience. So finding that balance of extracting the value you have as an entertainer from people willing to pay for it, and not losing the audience which give you the value to be extracted in the first place, that's a balancing skill.
Audience trust is a currency. Consider it in terms of MMO mechanics, generating a resource and then spending it on a big attack. Doing the thing which gains the audience trust, like being critical of games and showing your success and failures in a human way, is the builder. And the higher the trust, the more valuable you are as a marketing asset to any big company. And then taking the highly paying sponsorship to push a product to your audience is the spender. You just need to understand that every time you cash in your audience trust, make sure the payday is worth it, because it's going to get harder to regain that trust every time. And any sponsorships you take may stay in viral clips forever. And if you take too many sponsorships, you risk being seen, and I've seen this happen to both YouTubers and Twitch streamers over the years, as a content creator who only makes things when they are paid to make them, as opposed to making things that they genuinely care about, which means you will lose all the audience trust over the long term. Now, one thing that Twitch sucks at is archiving your work. It holds the complete stream VOD for about 3 months, but that's not exactly user-friendly to browse through a streamer's back catalogue of videos, and highlighted clips can last a bit longer, but again, it's not a user-friendly experience to click through a streamer's clips. That's why all of my complete stream VODs have been archived on the Josh Strife Replays YouTube channel. Now, many of you tell me that you want to catch up on the Twitch VODs, but it's easier to do this through the YouTube channel. The Josh Strife Says clip channel is another example of how short-form content of live streams are best delivered to a wider audience through a non-live stream focused service. And that wider audience reach that these clips have generated matters because a lot of what happens on stream is an in-joke and it needs context, and these clips allow people to get that context without sitting through a 7-hour stream. But if you are there for the 7-hour stream, one of the most amazing things you can see is the birth of an in-joke, which sometimes spreads beyond the stream itself and becomes a meme. Take one example of The Loop. The Loop became one of the most popular in-jokes, and it went like this. This stream is basically a 30-minute loop. If you keep watching, you'll hear me tell the same stories and make the same jokes or same references and same mistakes again and again and again. Like that time I got tongue-tied and said "choculent Chinese meal" by mistake. Or instead of saying "tank stance," I said hang on, now I'm trying to do it. I can't do it. I got it wrong. It was Stanktance. That was the one. Thank you. I started my World of Warcraft Classic journey as a warlock, and as a joke, I added the water breathing ability to my hotbar multiple times. Then I tried a new class, and people kept asking, "Where's the warlock?" So I joked, "Oh, they drowned," in a reference to the water breathing spell. And that became the answer anytime anyone asked what happened to anything. And as we know, new viewers have the habit of asking the same question again and again and again, so the answer just kept being, to any question, no matter the context, "Oh, they drowned." These moments, like asking if ghosts are wet, or the load-bearing sock on the microphone, or the human jawtopede, not only become YouTube clips, they also become fan art. And if you realize the dumb jokes that you're making with your chat are becoming the culture and lore of both of you and the viewers and the stream as a whole, you're creating the ancient magics that others will quote at you in the future. And there is a beauty to being involved in that process. You see, those silly jokes and sayings you and your mates have, those "you had to be there" moments that you keep laughing about, or those jokes that need like 5 layers of reference understanding to even begin to make sense. Streams have those moments every day, and they are incredible at building up audience trust. They also cement the regular viewers as the key.
I have a old one, chat. I think maybe Coon might be the only one that know it, and that might be pushing it. Well, there was a running joke back in the day. Do you have a nuke? I literally see nothing but a white queen. I can't see anything. Oh, we all dead. Which came from like a co-op stream I did with a friend back in the day for EDF sponsorship. Because he somehow got a nuke and it turned into a whole thing.
Keepers of the sacred knowledge because they understand. It's a digital shibboleth which rewards those who are involved with deep comedy that you just won't get from a surface level joke. Now those bonds are what help keep a community together, and you might be thinking, what the hell is a human jawtopede? But don't worry, it drowned. And as funny as the loop was to hear 6 or 7 times an hour, it does highlight a really interesting limitation of live streaming. People watch streamers who tell stories, and a lot of interesting stories come from life experience. If you think back to school, you'll probably remember some of the most interesting and engaging teachers that you had just had more life experience outside of the classroom than some of the newer teachers. And they can draw on that real life experience to engage the class in the lessons they're teaching. I find any entertainer, streamers specifically, are the same. Those who come into streaming after having lived interesting lives can bring those lives as stories into the stream.
Let me tell you about
they say,
the goat
write what you know.
picking up lady and Bob and Banks at the same time.
What I knew became more and more about the game, or the community of the game, or the viewers in the chat. What I knew became streaming, so my stories became less about my life and more about what happened to me in the game, or why my mechanical understanding of the game helped, and I started theory crafting, or talking about other streamers, and this is what creates that microcosm of streamer society.
You guys
There's
told me tell the same like 20
death spiral where a relatable artist starts
days.
by making work for the people they relate to, which has broad appeal, and then eventually, if they find success, they surround themselves with other successful artists, and then they start making art for those artists because that becomes what they know. If you've ever watched a film, read a book, or played a game and thought, these writers are so out of touch with general society and the real world, they're only speaking to those people in their tiny creative bubble, this is likely what happened. This leads to audience churn because eventually they've heard all of the non-streaming stories. So what do? Well, you either focus on the game alone, which reduces your audience to only people who care about the game, or talk about the stream, which reduces it to people who have already been into the stream, creating a smaller and smaller in-group. Or if
the
you're
reason
not
why
leaving
you
your
have
house,
more, I have more viewership when we
then
just
talk
chatting compared to, you know, doing this or playing games. Like, example being
about that simply because it's something new, an endless source of new stories. The only difference is it's not actually something you're experiencing personally, it's something that you're experiencing passively and just start reporting on. The alternative is the same joke again and again and again. The danger of this is because the audience demand new content and you have to comment on new things that you haven't experienced yourself, your opinion may be uninformed, biased, or straight up manipulated by whatever media you got the initial information from. But the allure of must-make content is stronger than the ideology of must-report responsibly. This ties back into the 5th pillar of streaming, confirmation bias and community belonging. If you run out of things to talk about, which if you stream long enough, you will do. Just talk about things people already agree with. But eventually even this can get repetitive and dull, so instead of thinking about world events you aren't involved in, what if you just create some that you are, such as drama with other streamers?
Yep.
That way you're tapping into the parasocial nature of the connection. And I've seen many streamers
And
start
quippy.
to and then end up relying on creating drama just to keep the audience engaged. But this drama can be incredibly mentally taxing due to its frequency and intensity from people you don't know. And can you, as a streamer, become responsible for the behavior of your community? With full-time streaming, you're moving into a workspace where the audience have naturally filtered themselves through being on Twitch at all to the enfranchised player of a game or your invested fans. So you're dealing with more emotionally
When people
invested
go to other
people
stream
from
and
the get-go.
hating
This
them
leads to
because the
streamers and
streamer don't like
audiences
them.
doing what workers in most workplaces do, discussing workplace drama, because that's a constantly evolving source of new stories that everyone is at least somewhat involved in, viewer and performer. Except there are differences. Take a normal workplace where your co-workers are Doris from accounting, or Frank who only works the closing shift and never washes the dishes well enough, or Brian who spends half his shift playing phone games and gets away with it because he's the boss's mate. You're probably going to talk to your co-workers about how you think or feel about these people, but it's going to stay very, very localized to just the place that you work and just the shift that knows these people. But once you leave work, the drama kind of dies down. Sure, there might be a group chat you're in or a smaller one that you're not, but the fast food shop halfway across the country doesn't care about your internal staff relationship chart. Classic workplace drama tends to stay somewhat contained to the people directly involved in it. Kind of like high school drama.
Or also, telling your partner about it. Well, if you have one. Or your cats.
Drama. What happened in your high school is irrelevant to what happened in a high school in another country. And to everyone involved in the drama, the high school drama, the work drama, it is the most important thing in the world because they are the center of their own world and the world is revolving around the drama. But give it time and distance and it dies. A couple of weeks and no one cares anymore. A couple of miles and they never cared in the first place.
But with streaming, your workplace is the internet, and your co-workers are, to a degree, every other content creator in the world. And if you have a fan base, and they have a fan base, suddenly beef between you two as individuals isn't between you two as individuals. It's between both of your fan bases, your entire communities.
Which some people take advantage of it,
cases,
sometimes
millions of people
they don't,
that you have
and
never met
they go off
are
the well
suddenly
real fast.
emotionally invested in the interpersonal conflict of multiple people. Twitch becomes a soap opera which plays out in the real world.
Or
So
a battle
small
of
disagreement
gangs,
can be
depending on how
mined
you
for
wanna look at
more
it.
conflict than it's really worth. I've had larger and smaller content creators react to videos of mine which are minutes to years old.
Put simply, Twitch culture can begin to feel like a massive dramatic high school. And you can't opt out of this either, because someone will make a react video about you, or mention you on another stream. And then the cross-pollination of viewer bases begins, and unlike real-world work drama, which tends not to break containment too easily, Twitch drama actively tries to. And then you'll be getting Instagram, Twitter, Discord, or just old-fashioned email messages from people who have never watched you or interacted with you in any way, letting you know how they feel about you because of hearsay and connected drama to a person they do watch. Anything you say can and will be quoted out of context, and anyone that you spend time with or talk favorably of becomes your team, even if you weren't trying to take sides. Everything you do becomes seen through the lens of both performer and character in this real-life play where all the world's a stage. If you are going to be streaming full-time as a job, this means you're not just navigating your own stream, you're also having to balance your reputation amongst other streamers, creators, or, if a moment goes viral, the general public. And if you are friends with or even connected to in a minute way someone which the audience decides are now cancelled, you are involved in this drama by proxy, not by choice.
Time
now,
to comment.
I'm not saying you need to support your streaming colleagues even if they're awful people. You absolutely don't. I'm saying that you need to be aware that streaming brings workplace drama, office politics, and high school cliques into your everyday life. Your colleagues, your customers are global, and Unfortunately, how do I put this nicely? You're going to be sharing a huge part of your life with socially maladjusted and emotionally invested people that see your life as a show they are now involving themselves with for fun, with a zeal for drama you cannot escape. You will become known for what goes viral, not necessarily what you do the most, because like a headline matters more than the article to most people who don't have time to read but still want to get emotionally invested in stuff, the quick and easy clip is viewed and shared more. If you have a good positive stream with 8 hours of laughs, good banter with the chat, game progress, some subscriptions, maybe a donation or two, and it ends on a positive note, that won't get clipped. It's too long. Too many positive moments don't give the audience anything to get riled up over. Positivity doesn't sell or grab or hold attention. Instead, it's the arguments with chatters, the mistakes, the emotional moments. They will get clipped because they will get watched more. Humans react to negativity far stronger than positivity, and that will become the persona that others know you as. The mental image of who you are gets built up from the most extreme things of what you do because they are the things that travel around the internet faster. I think overall the vast majority of stream time that I put out is relatively positive, but it's the negative bits which do well on YouTube, and people then comment saying every clip they see of me is negative. Therefore, I must be like that all the time, while most people in the stream are just asking if ghosts are wet and laughing at the silly Lalafels in silly little tanks. Unfortunately, streamers do know this, and discoverability, or being found if you're a new streamer, on Twitch is terrible. So having a clip go viral on YouTube or Instagram is probably the best advert you could ever have. Even if it brings hate watchers, they're still watching. This is why so many big streamers are happy to say controversial things, or get into drama, to argue, to be overly negative, to be extreme or reactionary, because those are the moments which will get shared. They will galvanize whichever side empathizes with them the most, and the audience will then be brought in. And in the theatre world, we used to say all that matters is bums on seats. Doesn't matter why the audience is there. They can be watching genuinely or ironically. They can be watching with love or hate. Their reason for being there is irrelevant, only that they are. Now on Twitch, that's eyeballs on stream and people writing comments. It's a numbers game to some extent, and a viral clip is a golden ticket. I've had a lot of friends say to me, they really want to get into streaming, but they just want to be like chilled out and relaxed.
If you want to make it, you can't do that.
Really down to earth. And while I love the sentiment of wanting to do that, I'm sure there's probably an audience out there somewhere specifically streaming in a way which is designed to never create those emotional viral moments.
You'd be like me
and
for
so you
like
end up
15
robbing
years.
yourself of a major marketing tool. It's a bit of a paradox that the audience say that they want something that's not dramatic, and then whenever they're given that, leave to go and watch stuff that is dramatic. When you stream, you are trying to entertain. And in the world of entertainment, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So you can just focus on the game and ignore the drama, but even then your experience of a game is very different once you click Go Live.
Let's touch on one of the most fundamental things. Playing a game for fun on your own is different to streaming a game for content. One is for you, the other is for the audience. Now that's not me saying...
Or the audience hates it, and then it becomes about you. Me with Wayfinder and Dune Awakening. You guys hate them games. But I love them. I love them so much.
Saying you can't have fun while streaming. Hopefully you absolutely will be. The audience can definitely tell. But you'll be having a different type of fun. A different experience of the game. And I find this change in experience comes from 3 major things. Attention splitting, audience interaction within the game, and audience interaction outside of the game that is often about the game. So let's break those down.
First, attention splitting, or why Twitch streamers seem to suck at games despite literally playing them as a job. Put simply, you've got a limited amount of brain power, and focusing it all on one thing can make you kinda good at that thing over time. But when you start juggling 2 or 3 things, you can't give each one 100% of your focus, and each one suffers. When you do that, you are attention splitting. Now, playing a video game when you come home from a long day at work is designed to be a relaxing hobby. But when you are streaming, playing the game is only one of the things you're doing. You're also now reading the Twitch chat. You're reacting to it. And if you're playing with other people in the game, you're reacting to them as well. Many people think you can stream a game the same way you just casually sit and play one for your own enjoyment, and that's just not the case. Because when your job is to entertain...
Let's be honest, chat. You guys see me do it every once in a while. Like, Forza Horizon 6 would have been the last one. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go collect all the shinies. And like the thing is about that, like the whole thing of like when we play JRPGs, especially like older JRPG. Like don't get me wrong, we have the stuff from like the Final Fantasy pixel stuff or emulation stuff, where you can actually like speed up combat and you just hold a button and you run through like 100 fights in like 30 seconds. Fine, whatever, cool. But like getting into like the grinding stuff or like the grinding OCD-ness, welcome back, CM. We talking about right now playing games on stream and distant to playing games off stream, where we are. But welcome back. But yeah, like plenty of things where like on stream, I know, but I'm gonna set here the reason why like I don't play a lot of Ubisoft games on stream, technically, is I know my OCD will kick in. I'd be like, I need to do everything. I need my map to be clean. And I know, like, spending, like, 5 streams just collecting feathers, not exactly the most interesting thing to watch, Like I said, same thing with, like, leveling an RPG. Like, if I can do it off stream, I will try to. Just so, progression keep moving. Which is the other reason why every JRPG need to have the whole beat up time bit. But yeah. No, I have only been ranting for 2 hours, 47 minutes, and an hour and a half video. We have double drop video. Oh boy, it's fine. It's fine. We showing a lot of information here. Any of the video will end up being almost 4 hours by the time we upload it. That is true. You are close. It's not 3 hours, 2 hours and 40, but we getting out.
The game now becomes a tool, a framework
that you
can
minutes left
build
of that
entertainment around. When people find out I do Twitch streaming, they say, "Oh God, I wish I could just play games all day." And I tell them, "You can, but it wouldn't be a very good stream because the moment that camera is focused on you and that microphone is in your face,
it wouldn't be like I always say. It wouldn't be a good stream, and also the streaming at 1% of your actual job, especially if you get to a point where you're doing it for any amount of livability to finance.
Psychologically experiencing that game from a different mindset than you would have if you were just lounging on the couch with no one watching. The game you are playing, the teammates you have if it's multiplayer, the chat, the discussions going on, your responses, donations, subscriptions, the software you're running to stream it, food and drink you have in real life, any contractual obligations you have to the stream or the sponsors, combine all of this and you'll realize
streaming is a job that requires a specific skill set to be good at. And I'm not saying it's the most difficult job in the world. I know people are going to push back against this, but it is a job nonetheless. And this means people will message you, I guarantee it, complaining that your gameplay isn't good enough because it's not your only focus, or your chat interaction isn't fast enough because it's not your only focus.
My way around this is I just I used to walk in the video game industry at Platts, and then that answer everything. Thank you, IGN and Cuphead.
Or your teammates are getting annoyed because you're not focusing on them because they're not your only focus. And the truth is, all of these things do matter and they're all urgent, and you have to make the equation balance. Attention splitting will mean you might miss important aspects of game design, like walking past an obvious item because you're reading the chat to thank some donators. Or you'll miss a big donation in chat because you're focusing entirely on the game and make people feel bad because they've given money and you've not thanked them.
If you're attention splitting enough, you don't actually form memories the same way. Have you ever been doing 4 or 5 things at the same time throughout the day, and at the end of the day, you actually can't really remember any specific thing you did? Well, that happens with games. I played Oblivion for the first time ever on stream several years ago. The whole adventure streamed. I know I have finished Oblivion. I have the VOD to prove it, and yet I cannot actually remember playing Oblivion. I've got vague segments here and there, but the plot, locations, characters, quests, items, they didn't even form as a memory because my attention was split so much during those streams, I don't even know what I'm meant to have been remembering. So attention splitting will change your experience and memories of a game. Now, probably the most prominent in MMORPGs that will alter your experience of gaming while streaming is audience interaction within the game itself. If you stream any multiplayer game, viewers will ask to play with you. Whether that's a first-person shooter or an RPG or a real-time strategy, If people can get involved, they want to. If you stream an MMORPG, people will find you, and they will interact with you whether you want them to or not, and this will fundamentally change your experience of that game compared to a casual average player. Viewers will see you playing their favorite game, and they will want you to love it like they do, so they'll do something really paradoxical. They'll try to remove any hardship.
Yep.
Now, it's important to understand that overcoming adversity and challenge is a core human experience, and good game design is about challenge and friction. As the creator TheoryOS said, friction between the player and the game is a balance. Too much and nothing moves. Too little and nothing sticks. Long-time players had to overcome the friction of grinding for items, or grinding killing other players, or learning the mechanics, or killing bosses, maybe struggling to find groups, maybe getting lost within the game, and all those hardships become your memories. They are the friction that you overcome, and while they may have sucked in the moment, overcoming them was what created and cemented your connection to the game. When people watch you stream a game, they don't consider hardship or friction as something to be overcome. They worry it will be a quit moment for the streamer, and so they overcome it for you, without realizing they're actually removing the design which made.
Like when your viewers carried you in Phantasy Star, Troy Marciem.
No. I would say honestly, like, let's be honest. Everybody was killing each other in Fantasy Star. I would say probably the closest thing to this in like pleasant memory would have been like, X being like, here millions of dollars, or him like in Final Fantasy 14 going and turning on all the boots so I gain like 5 times the experience. Like, that type of stuff is probably more accurate to this. Because let's be honest, everyone carry everybody in Fantasy Star, because no one knows how to play Fantasy Star, let's be real. Then again, you can argue no one knows how to play any MMO, to be honest. But, go with my theories of every time in every MMO that someone bitch and moan about, like, oh, you're not doing the mechanic right. And then they rage quit, and then we beat it for a try when a new person come in. I'm just saying, oddly suspicious. I'm just saying. But
them fall in love with the game in the first place. Imagine, for example, that you really love Dark Souls and you watch your friend play Dark Souls for the first time, and instead of letting them struggle and die on the first boss, you just take the controller off them, finish the boss for them, and hand them the controller back, saying, well, wasn't that fun? No. It wasn't. Now, people will give me any amount of in-game gold or items in MMOs. They'll trade me rare mounts. They'll teleport me around. They'll give me endgame gear, boosts, buffs, help. Okay. If they can, they'll kill enemies for me before they get close. I'll never struggle to find a dungeon group. And that is just, if I'm being honest, a vastly different experience to a normal player. Yeah. Now, I can just refuse audience gifts and audience help, but often people giving the gifts or giving the help will see that as an insult. And I've had times where I've refused gold or items or mounts or help because I want to experience the game as it was, the way people tell me they have experienced it, and am excited to see me experience it. And then I've actually had angry messages saying it's insulting to refuse the gifts or
I haven't had the whole, like, people being upset about refusing. I have had ones in the past of playing games and then people getting angry because I didn't mod it the way they did. Like, I have got that a lot back in the day. When we play, like, a game that mainly known for being, like, extremely, meant to be modded. Like, I have seen that side of Twitch.
The help they want to give me. They've traveled all this way to give me a present. I need to team up with them because they've paid for the game or a subscription. They see the effort and the energy they have gone to as something that I absolutely need to accept. Because when you are streaming, you are not just streaming. You are the group leader, even if you don't want to be. And now you're managing people's emotions and expectations when they thrust those upon you. Now, this isn't all negative. Of course, there's a positive side. Playing a game with viewers can strengthen the community bond, or help ingratiate you into the game's overall community. Sometimes the developers of the game even take notice of big streamers and you become a part of the in-game lore, and there's definitely an advantage to being able to form groups for any content really quickly. Plus, it can lead to some really funny moments. It's not often you'll open a door to a Lalafell in a tank simply saying, I have some demands. Viewers' comic timing can be
Nice.
absolutely golden, but the
That
fact
is
is,
true.
the moment you start streaming a game, then your gameplay
That was some
experience
fun
isn't
stuff in
just
PSL with you
yours
guys.
anymore. Your gameplay is now a collaborative performance, and you may not want that bunny girl harem following you around, but you've got it, and you're going to have to learn to live with it. Doesn't matter whether it improves the game in the moment or takes you out of it. It is there.
Streaming a game you have never played with an audience of people who have played it is similar to watching a film for the first time surrounded by hundreds or thousands of people who have seen that film telling you, pay attention, this is the good bit, for every single scene. And sometimes you have to say to all of them as a collective, just let me watch the film and experience it for myself. And only a few minutes later, someone will whisper, did you see what that character in the background did? Because it was important you noticed to spoil the twist later.
But what about streaming single-player games where people can't join you in-game? Well, that takes you to the third thing. They will let you know how they feel in chat. And now even reading the chat becomes an info hazard to both you and every other viewer that hasn't played the game. I have discovered viewers have this paradoxical relationship with watching someone play their favorite game for the first time. They are both incredibly envious that you get to have that pure, unfiltered experience, and also
Keep bad memory,
absolutely
you'll be fine.
determined to make sure they ruin it for you by informing you of things that you would only know if you are an experienced player. Slight spoilers in this next section for Mass Effect, both plot and info hazard-wise. I'll leave a spoiler warning mark on the screen,
guess
and when that
Matt
goes
Pep
away,
one.
you can turn the sound back on. So mute
Why
the video
not
now to
DLC
avoid
for
that.
3?
Right, if
We
you're
good.
streaming a single-player game, the chat will do one of three things. Either straight up spoil the plot by telling you or asking questions which they know will lead you to discover things way before you should have discovered them. And people love doing this because they want to feel that they are telling you the story instead of letting the story tell itself. Or they will tell you information hazards about the game, such as how to get the best weapons and armor super early or an overpowered build which you'd never find on your own and makes the game trivial. Or they'll constantly ask why you aren't playing the game the way they want you to play it.
For example, I'd never played Mass Effect before, so I decided to play it for the very first time on stream to an audience because they wanted to see my genuine reaction. And when Saren appeared, the first few messages in chat were all, oh, he's such a good bad guy. What a great final fight. And I didn't know he was a bad guy, so I got spoiled. When playing many other games, endless messages about why aren't you using insert whatever the viewer wants you to use. Why aren't you using this weapon? Why aren't you using this build? It got to a point where the first day of playing Mass Effect 3, I had to stop because I was absolutely inundated with messages critiquing my playthrough of the first two games and then people spoiling the plot because they weren't happy I let some characters die. Okay, spoilers are over now. Back to the video.
Yeah.
So when you stream
That will
full-time,
happen all
understand
the
you're
time.
splitting your attention between multiple things, and if players can interact with you in
Get
the
a
game,
big
they
input
will, or they'll
from
at least try
a
to,
old
and if they
game.
can't, they'll
Sometime
type chat
not way.
messages, which will change the pacing and the mechanical experience of the game in a way that you can't unknow. But there's another issue you'll bump into pretty quickly, and that is how when a viewer finds you by playing a specific game, they will associate you with that game forever. Live streaming anything is stepping into the community of that thing. And remember, every game is someone's favorite game. But the fans of the game
no
won't
such thing as a
consider
bad game,
if it's
Sal.
viable for you as a
As long
streamer
as
to
it can
make a
boot.
full-time living only playing that game. They'll just want you to play it because they like it. So switching games can bring a level of safety with rotating viewer bases, but also annoy the fans of the niche game who discovered you, because they're going to think, I've finally found someone who will focus on the game I love. The viewership of World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV streams sits between 2 to 3,000.
God damn it.
Just like Troy's favorite game is Rainbow Moon.
I wouldn't say favorite, but it does live in my head went free, but not for the good reasons. Does that count? I guess that count as a favorite game, right? When you have a game you defy so much, it live in your head more went free than actually good game sometimes. I hate how I had that thought now. Now that can be stuck in my head. God damn it.
People on average, which is incredible, but that number drops substantially whenever I stream anything else. such as Albion Online, Rayman, Neverwinter, Armored Core, or Darkest Dungeon.
Or when
And whenever I do
play
stream
any game.
anything that isn't World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, the most common question I get in the chat is, when are you returning to World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, and did you quit World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV? So as a streamer, you have to balance the viewer demand and the fan base wanting you to return to things. I know many people who will say, oh, don't mind what the audience say, I'll watch you regardless, just play whatever you like. And that's a lovely sentiment, but the numbers just don't back it up.
Yeah.
And because Twitch is a numbers game, if your viewership starts dropping or stabilizes at a much lower number, your value to marketers or advertisers suddenly plummets. But maybe you find your game and you find your audience and you find your rhythm, and then 100 days and 500 hours later, the experiment ends.
And then
So
they
what did
put
I learn?
AI in it.
I learned the stream audience want vastly different things to the edited content audience. Even now, I'm doing sections like this for the visual variety because YouTube demands it, while Twitch doesn't. I learned that live streams have filtered the viewers to only the most enfranchised with the game or the people that enjoy you as an entertainer the most. And while it sounds impressive that 3 months of live streaming reached 400,000 people, a single YouTube video may do the same. I learned that
Or more.
performing
And here, Kate.
in an emotionally honest and unguarded way is the fastest way to both genuine connection and mental burnout. I learned that some viewers make your day way better because they have better comic timing than you could ever have.
True.
And some make it way worse because they'll say things that ruin your day. And the teaching background came in far more useful than I thought it would, while the theatre background helped me keep the show moving along. But the big question is, should you live stream? It is physically isolating and mentally taxing and emotionally vulnerable, but it's also rewarding in both a performance way and a social and cultural way. Content creators are a cool job, and people think you're cool for doing it, but like any job, there are aspects of the work that you will only truly understand once you've done it. So go and do it.
I will keep streaming and making videos for as long as I'm lucky enough to have an audience who likes the content that I create. But I also know that nothing lasts forever. And as a teacher, my most fundamental goal is to give people more skills than I have, so they can be better than I was. So if anything in this video has helped you start or continue a career in content creation, let me know, because it's cool to see the next generation coming up and making better content. For now, I have to go and play video games as a job, and I get to share that adventure with you, which, all things considered,
beat Jedi
makes me an
Survival.
extremely lucky guy. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. And as always, have a great day.
You know, like always, chat. Like always. We are two peas in a pod, chat. Any of some of the topics, I obviously, like always, doing my way, I beat him to it. But, like always, great job. Like, you know, the funny part is, like, yeah, the video came out 2 days ago, and isn't it always like half of his viewership on Twitch? Yeah, speaking of that, so yeah, here you go, chat. Here you the video. Yeah, go subscribe to Josh if you haven't already. Honestly, you can't go wrong. You know, if you just want a pretty or British version of me, have at it, chat. Have at it. But if you are here and sitting there, it's going up on YouTube as a 3 hour, 4 minute video, you should like, favorite, and subscribe. Do it for our little dolphin buddy. Or orca buddy. Do it for them. You know you wanna. Either way, we're gonna continue here on Twitch. In the YouTube video. We're gonna do that. Bye, VOD YouTube.